To order now. I will call the meeting to order now at 6:06 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CEC 20 June 2021 business meeting. Thank you for joining us. Before the meeting starts, just a reminder that this is a public meeting and it's being recorded. The only people who should share cameras are CEC members and our invited guests. Very importantly, I want to announce that there are Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin interpreters here tonight working on separate lines. You should see video of these interpreters. Thank you very much for them being here with us and providing this important service to our Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin speaking families. Our interpreters will now introduce themselves. First, would our Spanish interpreter please introduce themselves and give instructions for their language line?
Buenas noches, gracias por estar acá. Hoy Marisela y junto a Mariana estaremos ofreciendo servicios de interpretación. Por favor, marque a la línea 347-966-4114 y ingrese el número de conferencia 571-004-795 numeral. Si desea escuchar audio en español, pero desea permanecer en esta sala de conferencia con Zoom, para poder ver el audio de su computadora, silencie su computadora y el volumen y marque su teléfono a la línea de conferencia en español. Nuevamente, la línea de conferencia en español es 347-966-4114. Ingrese el número de conferencia 571-004-795 símbolo numeral. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, would our Mandarin interpreter please introduce themselves?
Hello, this is Mandarin announcement. 请拨打1-347-966-4114，然后输入会议的密码614-233-888，井号键。再说一遍，请拨打347-966-4114，然后输入会议的密码614-233-888，井号键。如果您想要听中文翻译，同时想在电脑上看会议，请将电脑和手机调成静音，用手机拨打进入中文频道。再说一遍，中文翻译的频道号码是1-347-966-4114，然后输入会议的密码614-233-888，井号键。谢谢 ，Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, could our Arabic interpreter please introduce themselves?
Hello, this is the Arabic interpreter. This is Apia. رجاء الاتصال على الرقم 347-966-4114 مع إدخال رقم المؤتمر 754-728-031 مع علامة الهاشتاج. مرة أخرى رجاء الاتصال على الرقم 347-966-4114 مع إدخال رقم المؤتمر 754-728-031 مع علامة الهاشتاج. إذا كنت تريد البقاء معنا في غرفة المؤتمر الافتراضي وتشاهد الاجتماع من خلال جهاز الكمبيوتر، الرجاء كتم الصوت والاتصال على خط الرقم العربي 347-966-4114 مع إدخال الرقم السري 754-728-031 مع علامة الهاشتاج. مرة أخرى الرقم 347-966-4114 مع إدخال رقم المؤتمر 754-728-031 مع علامة الهاشتاج. وشكرا. Thank you.
Thank you. Please reminder to everyone to speak slower, given that the interpreters will be translating everything in the meeting tonight. Okay, roll call. I believe Alice is not here, and so I will do the roll call to start the meeting. Steve Stowe, President, here. Dina Gurgis, First Vice President. Dina, are you here? Take that as a no. Robert Aguilar, second vice president and ELL rep. Rob, are you here? No. Alice Liccato, recording secretary, announced she would not be here. Inga Smoliar, treasurer and borough appointee.
Here.
Thank you, Inga. Alan Aha, IEP rep. Alan is not here. Maurizia Cadillo.
Here. I'm
Yifeng-
here.
Hi, Maurizia.
Hi.
Yifeng Chen,
Here.
Adele Doyle,
Here.
Vito Labella,
Here.
and Simeon Stoltzberg, our other borough appointee.
Here.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Did I miss someone? I'm getting 10 names here. Hold on one second. Sorry, bear with me. Oh, Vito, okay. Okay, so the agenda for the business meeting, the good news is there's really nothing on it. The only two items we have are to approve the May business meeting minutes and then approve submission of the superintendent evaluation. So to start with approval of the May business meeting minutes, Natalia, can you just share those? Okay. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from last month's business meeting? Are there any objections to approving these minutes as is? Okay, the minutes are approved. Next order of business, the superintendent evaluation. We conducted we had a special meeting last month. We discussed as a group in an executive session what sort of criteria we would use and what the process would be. We've each provided our evaluations of the superintendent. Those have been collated into a single document that we will submit to the DOE. That document is private. so we can't share that, but we are voting now to approve submission of that document. And we will, there will be a follow-up meeting with the superintendent to deliver that document and discuss the evaluation with the Superintendent Preto. So I know I've sent it around. I sent around the last version last night. I think hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it. Are there any comments on it before, or any comments before we vote to approve? Okay, I will take that as a no. Let's hold a roll call vote to approve submission of the superintendent evaluation. Natalia, can you do the roll call vote, please?
Okay. Steve Stowe.
Yes, I approve submitting the evaluation.
Okay. Dina Gurkis is not here. Robert Aguilar is not here. Alice Licato is not here. Inga Smolyar.
Yes.
Alan Aha is not here. Mauricia Cadillo.
Yes.
Okay. Yifeng Chen.
Yes.
Adele Doyle.
Yes.
Okay. Vito Labella.
Yes.
Simeon Stolzberg.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that'll be 7 yeses. So the motion passes.
Great. And I guess since we're here and we're just discussing it, we could sort of talk next steps. I don't know if anyone has a particular opinion on this. I am more than happy to just meet with David myself, submit it. I will read through what's on it, but I'm also happy to entertain other ideas if anyone has any.
Steve, are you making a motion that you do that?
That's fine, Vito. Let's do it. I make a motion that.
I second that motion.
Okay. All in favor of that idea? Let's just do a voice vote here.
Aye.
Aye. Are any opposed to that idea? So the motion passes unanimously. I will present it to him sometime before and submit it before June 30th. And with that, I think we are done with our business meeting. I will make a motion to adjourn.
Steve, do we have any song or dance? Because we can't start the other meeting until the scheduled time.
Well, I think we can just cut out for a half hour and
We
enjoy
can.
some free time, right?
Steve, can I
Any
ask
update on
you a
the
question?
survey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Simeon. Like mine.
Go
Would
for
love
it.
to hear about the survey.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I was going to update at the calendar, but if we just want to talk informally, absolutely. Yeah, so it went out Monday. I do know that not all, I haven't got it yet from my parent coordinator, so I have to keep, Sylvia got the link. Sylvia got the QR code. She emailed it to all the parent coordinators. I've seen responses starting to come in. I can check right now. Give me 1 second to log in here. So as of right now, we have 90 responses. Sylvia and I were talking about this. It is going to be challenging because there's been tons of surveys. The DOE, it's overlapping with the DOE survey. And she was saying that the response rate for the DOE survey has been pretty low in some schools. And so for us to piggyback on that is going to be challenging, I think. But I'm going to mention it tonight. I'm going to speak at the Immigrant Parent Advisory Council meeting on Monday. And certainly any chance we can get to promote it, I think we should do. And if there's please suggest ways that we can do.
Steve, just a question. Now that, well, potentially the results. Obviously, there's burnout. There's year-end burnout. Do you think we would get better results if we distribute this at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, and I think that that's for the next council to decide for sure. But the beauty of this is we have this license, the CEC has this license through April of next year. And I would fully hope that they would make use of it. I mean, not too much, because then you overwhelm people, but just like you said, Adele, absolutely. Like at the end of the summer, an evaluation on summer school and how are you feeling about the year that's about to start? And then midway through the year, and then in the spring at some point, kind of makes sense. You know, I think I mentioned this to you guys, but the final survey, we ended up having to ask parents to self-disclose. And so the first 5 or 6 questions are self-disclosure questions of demographic information. But I think it's actually sort of a silver lining because we can get more granularity on some areas, like race and ethnicity, for example. This is the challenge. This is one challenging part for me, is figuring out how to use the text analysis tool. But if I've looked at it, I've seen the demonstrations, and in theory, it helps. It will analyze large unstructured text like that. So that's something I'll have to do. A deadline, June 21st. The DOE just extended their deadline. I'm inclined to maybe, you know, keep an open mind on our deadline. And if I have to crank through the final weekend of the month on all the data, then I will. Yeah, those are kind of initial thoughts on it.
It's really exciting. You know, Steve, I'm just looking at another thing. I think Diane Gennardis is on the line, and I would love to hear any thoughts that she might want to share about middle school, about pre-K, if she has any information about that. Would you mind if she spoke on that a little bit, or is that out of order?
I don't mind. Just you're shifting gears now, Adele, to pre-K admissions.
Yeah.
And
Whenever we're done with this, I was looking at the list of who's online, and I think Diane is here.
Yeah, I don't have anything else, unless anyone else has a question on the survey. I don't have anything else to say on it right now.
So this would be the open meeting portion of the open questions portion of the meeting, right? So it's fine.
Yeah, and also Janine is here from the President's Council. Maybe she has something to add as well. I think. Hi, Diane.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was on a call with the principal, so I had to step away. Did you need something from me?
No, I threw you out there, Diane.
No, sorry. Just let me call you back, okay? Okay.
Actually,
Nice going, Adele.
Sorry about that, guys.
And I threw you out there.
I know. I love you
Listen,
too.
we have all this free time. I love it, and I love to hear from our community partners. It feels like a lovely time.
Yes.
Actually, Diane, before we go to pre-K, can I actually ask you about the survey? Is in your work with the principals, parent coordinators are the ones primarily distributing this, but is it, or do you know if principals have been made aware of the CEC survey?
I believe that they have. I know that I did get an email myself from Sylvia, and so I am assuming that she distributed it to the principals as well as the parent coordinators. That's an assumption. I don't know whether she gave it to me as part of the superintendent's team, or if it was simply, you know, as part of the principals that was distributed.
Okay, I think it might be the principals, because one of our ideas is to distribute results by school, just a sort of a running total by school at the end of the first week, and try to, you know, drive some competition there among the principals. So,
you know, there may have been a lot of confusion because, you know, the regular parent survey is going out, and it was originally due this Friday, but they extended it until June 18th. And so parents may have received one or the other, and there may have been some confusion in terms of which survey they were actually completing.
yeah, understood. And unfortunately, there was really nothing we could do about that, given the timing.
Is there a deadline for your survey?
Right now, it's June 21st.
Is there any way of extending that? And
absolutely there is. We will definitely keep an open mind on that.
Because I would suggest, you know, since the New York City parent survey is now due the 18th, schools could do a push that last week to encourage parents to complete the CEC survey as well.
Yeah. That seems like a good way to go. Okay, thanks, Diane.
Sure. Yeah. Now, do you want to know about pre-K?
Please.
Before I get on this phone call again. Well, in terms of pre-K, we are adding 3K to our program this year. We are adding 17 sections of pre-K in our existing pre-K centers.
I don't like that. Oh, I'm sorry.
And so we have not yet gotten the matches, but I can tell you that preliminarily, we have 255 seats available in our district for 3K, and we had close to 700 applicants. So there is certainly a demand for it. I know that if we fill up all of our pre-K and 3K seats, currently our District 20 pre-K program will be filled to capacity. I don't have an empty classroom anywhere. It will bring us to servicing 97 classrooms in the pre-K centers with approximately 1,600 children. So that's the story with pre-K. And we are looking forward to a robust year next year, inviting all the children back in person and getting back to what we used to call normal.
Yeah, exactly. Diane, would you mind sharing that? I feel like that might be information well suited for the calendar meeting, just an update. I know there's been I've seen a lot of talk on Bay Ridge Parents and other places about the pre-K situation. And that seems like good summary information to put out there at the calendar. I might, if you don't mind.
Nope, not a problem. I'll be on the meeting. I may have to wait to take a phone call, but I'll be back.
I'll add you for a few minutes right after my report. Then
okay, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I think do we make a motion to add that speaking at the business meeting, or do we make that at the calendar meeting? We make that a calendar. Okay. And Janine, are you on as well?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, just two things. This Friday is going to be the final President's Council meeting for the year at 3 o'clock. Elections will be held. And if on this call, if any PTAs are on and need still to hold their elections or need assistance with any of the end of the year, they could please email the President's Council so we can help them out. Will be appreciated. That's it.
Got it. Same question, Janine. I think that information would be useful.
Perfect.
Make a quick calendar.
Sure.
All right, I'll add you right after Diane, then we can just repeat your announcements. Those are both good.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve.
Good. Yep. Anyone else? Anything at all? Okay. I guess now I will make a motion to adjourn the business meeting, and we can reconvene at 7 for the calendar meeting.
Wait, hold on. I just want to make it official. Dina is in the meeting.
Okay.
I can
Hey,
vote
Dina.
on, you guys voted on the evaluation, or do you want to record mine? Is that what we would do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I vote yes.
Okay. Thank you, Dina.
Mhm.
And that was the only other, that was the only other business, the official business that we took care of tonight. So, Natalia, is there anything else?
I don't know unless you want to talk about the map or.
No, that's calendar meeting. I want the whole community to know about that so they can. I think the map is really cool.
I guess that's it.
Cool.
It's one of the shortest business meetings ever.
It probably makes sense since it's the last one of the term. Okay, well, we'll be back here at 7 though for everyone else that's on for the calendar meeting. So motion to adjourn the business meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. We will see everyone at 7.
It's 7.
Translators, are the translators all set, all ready to go?
Yes. So any questions for me this evening?
Okay. And it looks like we have quorum. I am going to go ahead and start the meeting, 7 o'clock. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to CEC 20's June 2021 calendar meeting. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we begin, I just would like to make a few announcements. Remind everyone that this is a public meeting and it is being recorded. Natalia, we have started the recording, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Very importantly, I just want to announce that there are Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin interpreters here tonight working on separate lines. You should see video of these interpreters. Thank you to them for being here with us and providing this important service to our Spanish, Arabic, and Mandarin speaking families. I will now ask the interpreters to go ahead and introduce themselves and give instructions for listening on one of the language lines tonight. Could we start with our Spanish interpreter?
Sí, buenas noches. Yo, Marisela, junto a Mariana, estaremos ofreciendo servicios de interpretación. Por favor, marque al 347-966-4114. Ingrese el número de conferencia 571-004-795, símbolo numeral. Si desea escuchar audio en español, pero desea permanecer en esta sala de conferencia con Zoom, para poder ver el audio en su computadora, seleccione su computadora y el volumen y marque de su teléfono a la línea de conferencia en español. Nuevamente, la línea de conferencia en español es 347-966-4114. Ingrese el número de conferencia 571-004-795, símbolo numeral. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Could our Mandarin interpreter please introduce themselves?
Yes. 大家晚上好，今天晚上的会议有中文普通话翻译，请拨打电话347-966-4114，然后请输入密码614-233-888，井号键，井号键。再重复一遍，今晚会议有中文普通话翻译，请拨打电话347-966-4114，然后请输入密码614-233-888，井号键。如果想在听翻译的同时看视频，请按静音键，再拨打电话。再重复一遍，今晚翻译有普通话服务，请拨打电话347-966-4114，然后请输入密码614-233-888，井号键，井号键。谢谢。Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, could our Arabic interpreter please introduce themselves?
مساء الخير على المشاهدين الذين يرغبوا بسماع الترجمة باللغة العربية. طلب نمرة التليفون 347-966-4114، بعدها الضغط على رمز 754-728-031، بعدها الضغط على علامة الشباك. مرة أخرى نمرة التليفون على الذين يرغبوا بسماع الترجمة باللغة العربية هو 347-966-4114، بعدها الضغط على رمز 754-728-031، بعدها الضغط على علامة الهاش أو الشباك. على راغبين بسماع الترجمة باللغة العربية محاولة توطئة الصوت عن طريق الضغط على الزوم وسماع الترجمة باللغة العربية. ثم على الراغبين بسؤال أي أسئلة سوف نقوم بإعطاء الوقت لسؤال الأسئلة باللغة العربية. سوف نقوم بترجمة هذه الأسئلة والإجابة عليها باللغة العربية. شكرا. Arabic announcement has been completed.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Just a reminder that because we will have translation interpretation throughout the meeting, it is very important that everyone try to speak slower than usual to allow the interpreters to keep up. One more item to cover before we officially start, how we will allow for public comment tonight. There will be 2 public speaking sessions, one 15-minute session at the right after our letter to Chancellor Porter, and then a second public speaking session after the resolution on class size reduction. We will take questions several different ways tonight. The first way we will take public comment is from participants who signed up using the Google form on the website. And Natalia, can you also please put that in the chat? And then the second way is to press the hand icon at the bottom of your screen to be recognized. And then we will allow you to speak. And a third way is we will take questions and comments from participants on the language lines. The interpreters will take those questions and translate them. And then finally, if you have called in using a phone, dial *9 to raise your hand, and Natalia will manually unmute your line to allow you to speak. Okay, so roll call. Alice, can you take roll call, please?
Sure. Steve Stowe, President.
Here.
Dina Gerges, First Vice President.
Here.
Robert Aguilar, Second Vice President and LREP. No Robert. Alice Licato, Recording Secretary, present. Inga Smoliar, Treasurer and Brooklyn Borough President Appointee.
Here.
Alan Aja, IEP Rep. No Alan. Mauricia Cadillo, Council Member.
Here.
Yifang Chen, Council Member.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Adele Doyle, Council Member.
Here.
Okay. Vito Labella, Council Member.
Yep.
And Simeon Stoltzberg, the other Brooklyn Borough President Appointee.
Here.
Okay, that's everyone. I see 2 absent, or yeah, 2 absent and 9 present.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, I just want to go over the agenda tonight and first welcome a number of individuals who are joining us tonight. The first welcome is to our featured speaker, our first speaker, PS 971 Sustainability Coordinator, Carrie Durante. She is here tonight to share information about the work that they do at PS 971, Sustainability Renewable Initiatives. We're also joined by District Superintendent David Preto. I have also seen from the district office Mr. William Chen. And I do not see, and that looks to be it from district office. Diane Granardis is here as well, CSA rep and pre-K administrator for the district. Janine Faustner, president of the President's Council. So welcome, and welcome to all our parents who are joining us, and principals and teachers. The agenda tonight, you can see it on the screen. We'll go through approval of last month's minutes. We will have the presentation, as I mentioned, on PS 971's sustainability program. That will be followed by the report of superintendent, then the report of council president. I would like to, I will get to that in a minute, but then there will be a letter to Chancellor Porter regarding the middle school and high school admissions, a general public speaking session, an EC resolution on class size reduction, a public speaking session on the resolution, and then a vote on the resolution. I just want to take an opportunity to add 2 items, very brief items, to the agenda. One would be a report from Diane Granardis, as I mentioned, the CSA representative. That would immediately follow my report. Diane will just speak about the pre-K situation in the district. So can we just get just a quick voice vote on that to add that to the agenda? All in favor? Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? No opposed. So we will hear from Diane immediately following my report. And then a similar motion to add Janine Faustner. Janine has an announcement for PTA's President's Council. Similar motion, add her as a speaker right after Diane. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so those items have been added to the agenda. I should mention that the resolution that we'll be discussing tonight and the letter have been posted on the website. Natalia, can we also link those in the chat? Is that possible? But they are available on the
They are
website.
available online. I have the resolutions to pull up.
Perfect.
For the links, I'll have to go back and search through. But the
that's
links
okay.
are also available on Facebook and the website.
Okay, that's fine.
David, Stephen, I'm sorry.
Yes, Vito.
May
go
I?
ahead. Sure, please.
So may I post background information in the chat in regards to the middle school screens?
What kind of information?
So this would be a 2013 report by Comptroller John Liu on discrepancies in high school admissions, an investigation he conducted, an audit he conducted, and also a article about the algorithm and information that was used on the present lottery.
Okay. Yeah, sure. That's fine, Vito.
Um,
Thanks for asking.
I mean, shouldn't that be included in the letter rather than posted?
Well, I mean, that
I
way
don't care
people-
one way or the other, but
If it's just for discussion, and I think it's
well, it's for like I guess it's for like evidence, right, to prove whatever you're saying in the
It's not
letter.
pro-
So-
Alice, thank you very much. May I speak?
Sure, of course. I'm
Vito,
just.
I don't want to go over this. I mean, we're not. The letter is we're merely just submitting the letter, correct, Vito? I mean, we're just
Yes,
submitting.
all this is background information. It's kind of complicated,
Yeah.
it's kind of long, and people have a chance to look at it at their leisure. That's all I want to do.
I don't, because since the letter's there's not even a vote on it. We're just notifying the public that we'll be submitting it, a group of council members. So.
Right, and I understand that. I just, I mean, can we wait until the sustainability thing is over and we're actually discussing the letter?
The only advantage to doing it now is that we can get people.
Right,
who-
people will be reading it while the sustainability presentation is going on. No, I understand. Oh, you know, I'm overruled. It was just a suggestion.
Okay. And then I will look at the next administrative item, just to mention the next CEC meeting will not be this council. It will be a brand new council, and it should be sometime around, in theory, on July 14th, the second Wednesday of next month. Just making that clear. And then I should point out that the election results for the new CEC council will be announced live tomorrow at 9 a.m. There is an event that anyone can sign up to join. The link, Natalia, can you post that link in the chat? The one Steve Weiser sent over. It's learndoe.org/CEC/candidate forum. For some reason, my screen is frozen. I'm not able to post things in the chat right now, but if Natalia, you have that email, right, from Steve today?
Yeah, I'm pulling up the link. Do you see the minutes?
Yes, yeah, okay, we can go on with that, that's fine. So the first, the old business, we will go approve the May calendar meeting minutes. So those should be visible, and just please scroll through those.
I actually think this is an old version of the minutes. There were some changes that had been made. That I did not see.
Okay, so can we pull those up, Natalia?
Yeah, Natalia, you'll locate them. Can some mute themselves? I think, can you mute yourself? Thank you.
There we go. That's the correct one, Natalia? Okay. Natalia, I know it's just a typo, but can you read us what it says? It says no, Steve Stowe, no, but whatever is over it, or is that a double? For
Yeah, I have
resolution,
to go through and clean that up.
it looks like something just printed twice, but
Yeah,
all the information's there. I'm not just, you'll clean it up for the website. Thank you.
yes.
Okay, are there any additional comments on the minutes, or are we, is there anyone who does not want to approve the minutes as is?
I just have one correction.
Sure.
For number 11, the resolution 15, I'm sure this is a typo too, but we have four excused, and the resolution passes unanimously with 7, but everyone says, yeah, there are only 2 excused on the actual roll call vote listed. So I think it's, I'm not sure who it is. I think it's Alan and Dina, or Alan and Rob. I'm not sure, but just fix it for the website, please, Natalia.
Thanks, Alice.
And the typos are probably my fault because I got back to Natalia late on the corrections and amendments that I had. So, which weren't many, but it didn't give her enough lead time to correct them. So I take responsibility for any and all typos.
We've got you on video saying that, Alice.
I always admit when I'm wrong, Steve.
Any other comments or motion to approve the minutes from the May calendar meeting? Or any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved as is. Next order is the May special meeting minutes, which are very brief. Natalia, can you share those? Yeah, what is it, Alice?
Sorry, I was muted. Motion to approve.
Yep. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the minutes from the special meeting are approved. Okay. As I mentioned before, we're joined by Carrie Durante. I hope I'm saying your name right. PS 971's Sustainability Coordinator. Carrie, are you, I see you're here. Natalia, can you unmute her and she can take the floor and take it away?
So I am unmuted, so that works out really well. Thank you. So first, I just want to say thank you for having me to come and talk about this exciting work that we're doing in PS 971 and in our districts. There's a lot of work to be done, and I think that the Office of Sustainability has been really supportive in a lot of the initiatives that I'm going to share with you today. And I also have some resources to share with you. I don't know if we have teachers on, if we have parents on. There's resources for all of us who are here today. Any schools that are here, if you'd like additional information, I would be so happy to help you out. I actually help a few schools in our district through their sustainability coordinators. So I'm going to just share what I have here really quickly. So just a couple things about myself. I am a science teacher at PS 971. I've been with District 20. Actually, I'm a homegrown, which is exciting. I grew up in Bay Ridge. So, you know, I love to come back and do the work there. I'm sustainability coordinator. And I have been since 2008, I believe they rolled out that position. So I've been to a lot of trainings. I'm a STEAM coach in the district. So some of you might be maybe a little familiar with seeing me running around with Dr. O'Brien a little bit here and there. I'm on the climate education leadership team for New York City. So we do curriculum writing and outreach to districts to sort of drum up more interest in sustainability and sustainable work. I'm also a doctoral candidate. And so my focus is in teacher training and culturally responsive pedagogy, which loans itself really nicely to sustainability and being culturally responsive, which is the most exciting part, to be able to tie my passion at work and my personal passion. So that's just a little bit about myself. So in District 20, I kind of made this a little bit on the more interactive side. So I don't know if you want to put in the chat or call out, but I just want you to think about the things that you've thrown away in the last 3 days, right? So just take a minute, think about it, right? I've started the list for you. I don't know if you want to call it out, like whatever. I do have them.
So hi, Carrie. Our chat is closed. I don't know how interactive we can be other than the members who are co-hosts and a few select people, but I should have mentioned that to you.
I'm sorry. No, that's fine. So I'll just walk you through.
Yeah, thank you.
So these are some of the things, especially recently, like face masks, gloves, cups from Dunkin' Donuts, paper plates, pull-ups, diapers, balloons, chicken bones, right? Milk cartons, egg cartons, cheese, food that's gone bad, peels from foods, Lysol wipes. We know we're using those like crazy. Amazon, I'm a big Amazon shopper. I get a lot of stuff from there. Boxes, old clothes, right? So this is like a typical, you know, collection of information that I would receive from a group of parents that I would be presenting this to, or teachers in my school, right? So if you think about that list, consider what you've actually thrown away and what you've actually recycled from there, right? And so that's kind of where I like to get our minds thinking about the humongous list of trash, essentially, that we throw away. And I want you to think about how much of it is coming out and actually going into being recycled. And so now when you start thinking back, that's why some of those other things were highlighted, because maybe water bottles, milk cartons, maybe toilet paper rollers, things like that. So I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about what away is, or not what it is, but where it is, right? So this is Rusty here. He's from Grow NYC. He's one of our mascots that get our kids really motivated about recycling. He's posted in my classroom all around, kind of always watching my students and watching my teachers, keeping their eye on everybody, just to make sure that we're remembering where away actually is, right? So we see here, this is a landfill, and this is where your garbage goes when you throw it away, right? And so away is a place, and there's only so much space that we can throw things away. And we're going to come back to that, because in New York City, we don't have any place else to throw things away. It's got to go someplace else. Oh, sorry. So that's a video that I will be sharing with you that you'll have the opportunity to take a look at. And it's just a little bit about Rusty and what it means to be thrown away. And I do this with kids and I do this with adults, just to sort of get them thinking about what that actually means and where our stuff is actually going. So in New York, Mayor de Blasio unrolled some sustainability goals, one New York City plan, right? And so One New York is the plan for a strong and a just city. And Vision 3 is for sustainability. And the second goal is that New York City will send zero waste to landfills by 2030. Well, that's right around the corner, right? So this is a goal that was, you know, thought up and written down on paper probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And they've really been working toward that. Unfortunately, during the pandemic, a lot of that has gone on hold. But I'm really happy to announce that it's coming back again, right? So a lot of the efforts that were happening before COVID are being put back in place. So for example, schools are going to begin, the schools that have compost collection will begin again in September. So that's something that we're really excited about. And you probably have seen these trucks 0 by 30. So that's just referring to zero waste by 2030. So that's one of the big goals that we have in New York City, and getting our families and our kids to think about this is really important, because you can't keep a message quiet, right? It's got to be something that kind of gets bigger. And so the best place to start that is with kids and in schools, because as parents, you're like, yes, I heard you. Yes, I'm going to recycle. Yes, I'm going to get reusable bottles, right? So that's courtesy of your teachers. So sorry about that, but we're trying to get that message really home. Oh, I don't know if that was a question or background noise. All right, so 0 by 30. How on this earth are we going to get there, right? This isn't just an effort that one teacher can take in one school in one city, right? So we've got to think about things. They've started by expanding the organics program. They have, my head is in the way, of course, reduce the use of plastic bags and other non-compostable products and waste. So we know that was on hold with COVID, but that also has come back, which I have a great link to share with you for a reusable bag at the end. Last meeting I attended, I was getting an award. So excited. I threw some bags out to some of you. Today, you can make a promise to contribute to the elimination of plastic waste, and you'll get a bag from the Department of Sanitation. So that's something exciting for you. Enhanced curbside recycling programs is something that they've been working towards. You know that we put our trash out. Apartment buildings are responsible for it. Schools are responsible for it. Private homes are responsible for it. Reduce commercial waste disposal by 90% by 2030. So we know that there have been a lot of efforts made towards reducing that impact from commercial waste. Develop save as you throw programs to reduce waste. Expand opportunities to reuse and recycle textiles. So we know all over Brooklyn, there are these great places where you can bring stuff, use stuff, pick up used stuff, even so much as wood, like reclaimed wood and things like that in Brooklyn. And again, if you need any information, I have the link to the Department of Sanitation website. Gives you everything you need to know about that. Give every New Yorker the opportunity to recycle and to reduce waste, including in the housing authority, right? So recycling isn't just in private homes. It's not just in schools. It's everywhere. It's all across New York City. Everyone has the opportunity to do it. Everybody needs the opportunity to learn about it. But the biggest impact that we have is to make all schools zero waste schools, right? So if you think about the population of New York City, we know that there are 1,800 schools, over 100,000 employees, and over 1.1 million students. So think about the impact that sustainability can have on our city's waste, right? If you just take every one of those schools and the nagging kids that we send them home to you and make sure you're recycling, the message is being received. So again, there are other goals. Another goal is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, right? So they want to take from the 2005 levels and they want to reduce it by 80%. Great, right? These are all wonderful goals, but with all goals, you need to kind of have a plan in place to achieve those things, right? So the goals here are to reduce the emissions from buildings and operations 35% by 2025, and to move all schools towards zero waste by 2030. Right now, not all of our schools, and not even all of our schools in District 20 are. Unfortunately, it's something that is more along the routes that the Department of Sanitation use and less about who's interested. So when I first started, we were not a zero waste school, but we made a zero waste pledge. And in our school, we still had the setup for compost collection to recycle in the cafeterias and in the classrooms. You don't need anything fancy to do it. You just need to have motivation and know-how. And there's plenty of resources out there for that, right? So what are some of the impacts of sustainability? Here I have, and I am going to click here, and this link will be available to you. I'm going to drop it in the chat when I'm done. I don't want to distract everybody by dropping things in there now. So this is a link to the Office of Sustainability. I don't make this information up on my own. I retrieve it from someplace. So if you want more information, you can just pop right in here. Everything is linked. Ooh, except for right now when I need it to be. You can click right on there and it will bring you to the Office of Sustainability's website. So the Office of Sustainability is an actual office that is working with New York City Department of Education schools from pre-K through 12, working towards these sustainable goals, supporting schools in their efforts. I didn't wake up one day and become an expert. It was through a lot of work, through a lot of research, and through my own interests that I was able to find these links and, you know, to get more information and to be able to support my students and my families and my community council with this information. So natural resources is a little interactive because I hate doing all the talking, but paper, right? So we've got folders and paper bags. We know that they come from natural resources, cans, plastic water bottles, plastic disposable bags, glass. These are all natural resources, but where do they actually come from, right? And if we were interactive, you could call it out, but since you can't, I'm gonna help you along, right? We know paper comes from trees. We know that metal and aluminum comes from rocks and minerals. Any idea where plastic comes from? Plastic bags and water bottles? Petroleum. And our glass comes from sand. But let's take it a step further. How do we gain access to these materials? Well, trees are logged, cut down, and destroyed. Forests are deforested. Minerals and rocks are mined from the earth. Oil is drilled for, causing, I don't know, I was really impacted. I remember being really impacted by the oil spills that have happened from when I was a kid. Some of them when I was in a school right in PS 102 back in the day. I remember being devastated about hearing about these oil spills and the impacts that they had, right? And then of course we know that sand is extracted from the earth, thereby destroying it to access these resources. And then disposal. We take these things and we just toss them away. Well, as a result, the toxic chemicals that are in, say, the petroleum are leached into the ground. As a byproduct of breaking things down, greenhouse gases are emitted into the atmosphere. So, you know, there's been a lot of talk about that. And the Office of Sustainability has developed a climate education leadership team to sort of take this information. When I first started hearing about this, I just wanted to take my head and put it in the sand. I didn't want to hear about these problems. I didn't want to know about it. I just wanted to pretend it didn't exist. You tell me don't use a disposable bottle, I won't use a disposable bottle, but I'll never ask why. And that right there, sticking my head in the sand, I was becoming a part of the problem, like so many other things that are happening in the climate right now. So I wanted to learn more. So the Office of Sustainability has come up with, like I said, this climate education leadership team. And there are teachers from District 20 who are on it, who have had amazing opportunities to travel to Iceland and Greenland and all across the globe to find out and develop more information for, pre-K, 3K, all the way up to 12th grade, all about this climate education. So greenhouse gases are emitted through, one of the reasons is through waste disposal. So in New York City, we no longer have any open landfills, so our waste has to be exported. As a result, we have to transport, which also is causing an additional greenhouse gas emission problem for us, right? And so here you can see it. It's carted. Our trash is carted. It's carted upstate New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. Like, it's just taken everywhere out of New York City. We have no more space for it. We just made too much of it. As a result of this, it costs New York City over $300 million to export our own trash. So it's like, hey, here's the money. Just throw it out there, right? We have no place to put our garbage. Let's just pay somebody else. But eventually they're going to run out of their space as well. So these are things that we want our students to and our families to be thinking about, right? Let's take our heads out of the sand. Let's not be afraid of the problem, but let's want to be motivated to find some solutions. And this is the work that we do, through the Office of Sustainability. And this is the work that I do with my students. And I have the greatest principal who supports every vision that I have, which we wouldn't be where we are and have not done the things that we've done without, her support. So I don't know if she's on, but yes, thank you, Ruth. All right. So another problem, high energy use, right? And that is creating grid stress, which as we all know, leads to blackout. Well, here comes the summer. I don't know, in Staten Island, we lost power quite a bit recently, right? In the last few days. So thinking about not just recycling, but energy conservation, right? Thinking about how do we reduce this stress on the grid? And so when we look here, there's District 20 down there, right? And we kind of got some red spots, well, kind of all the way down there cut off, but we're close to some of the darker spots that are having high energy use, right? So just powering our buildings and moving people, moving stuff, and moving waste is causing air pollution, right? And we know that that has short and long-term health effects on our kids and on us. So it's important for us to know these things. It's important for us to not just know them, but want to be motivated to come up with solutions for the problems, right? And again, we've got, these are some of the contributors to the greenhouse gas emissions and some of the long-term climate change effects and reasons why. And these are things that can be tackled. And these are things that when you ask children about, they care, right? And so, my favorite one is the thawing permafrost. And we talk about, well, what if your house was on there and then the ground started thawing? And they'd be like, well, that's not good. And we're like, no, it's not good. So what are we going to do about it? Right? So just really motivating people to want to know about it, not just the problems and bury their head, but the problems with solutions. So here's some great news, right? So recycling and clean energy creates jobs locally. So this is Pratt Industries. They make paper. You ever see the boxes with the stamp with the recycling arrow on the bottom? That's Pratt. They make boxes for tons of companies. And adults only, can't take kids to Pratt. They do have virtual tours, but adults only, you can visit the Pratt paper recycling facility. As a matter of fact, you should round up everybody in District 20 and take them there because it's a fascinating process. And you can see the paper coming across the river from the city over, and then you can see how they take it out and how they process it and what you start from to what you finish, right? Solar training centers that they have here. Sims Recycling, located right down in Sunset Park. They're open to school field trips for 3rd grade through 12th grade. So I take my kids there every year and I'm astounded at how many people don't even know that they can. They can actually see the garbage trucks coming in, dropping off all of the recycling, sorting it out, and then processing it, packing it, and moving it. And all of the people in our community who have jobs there. How many family members and relatives of our students work in these places? So these are really great connections to have with our students and with our community and with our environment. So when you think about this, recycling creates up to 7 times more jobs than sending waste to landfills. And so there's a little pictures here because sometimes we forget the stuff that goes in. So I'll guide you along a little bit along the way. But Sims Recycling, everything that you put in the blue bin, like plastic spoons and water bottles and yogurt containers and aluminum foil. Did you know you didn't have to even clean your recycling to send it to be recycled? Well, a lot of kids think, oh, I can't send it dirty. I'm going to have to wash it. And the parents are like, I don't want to wash that. You better toss that, right? There's a constant fight in my house. But you can send it there because they're going to melt it down and turn it into something new. Paper is different, but all your blue trash, dirty, clean, you might want it clean for your own home because you don't want to invite anybody to come over that's not invited. However, you can send all that out. So a Thanksgiving turkey or a lasagna, that pan is destroyed. It's aluminum. I use disposable pans on occasion. That's one of the occasions. I put that right in my recycling bin, and I know that it's going to be put to some good use to make some new products, right? Paper, again, it can only be clean green paper. You don't want to put a dirty pizza box because then you don't want to get your Costco cereal box with oil stains in there. So they do only accept clean green paper. Fun fact, Pratt Industries does not accept shredded paper. Shredded paper, the fibers are so small that they really can't use them. So what we started doing in our school is we actually started taking black markers and blacking out sensitive information on both sides when we can. Obviously, there are some things that we need to shred, but that's just something that it's much takes much less energy to just cross information out than to put it through the shredder and collect it. And then there's not much that can be done with it once it's into those small fibers. We also have these great composting facilities. In our school, we've got a small composting site, which we're really excited about because the kids have been composting, and I have worm bins in school, so for vermicomposting, but this is a much greater scale where they can actually see what's happening. But those facilities also are available. They manage waste. So we're just taken, if you go back to that original list that we made of all the things that you've thrown away over the last 3 days, and you really consider it, how much of it can go to one of these facilities? And that's the key. Obviously, you're not sending over your dirty diapers, but there are solutions for that as well. All right, so the Office of Sustainability and the Chancellor's regulations did create a few rules that all schools have to comply with, and all schools in our district and all districts, right? So one thing is you cannot have personal appliances in classrooms and offices. I can't tell you how many teachers are like, I'm not giving up my refrigerator. Well, that's kind of just the Chancellor's regulation, and you just kind of have to do it, right? So talk to your principals, get a big refrigerator and make a schedule for cleaning it. There are ways around it, I promise you, right? Another thing that we must do is to set up paper recycling in all the classrooms and set up recycling stations in the cafeteria. So I have some pictures of what that could look like. And again, if you want more information, you will have my email. Please, I am so happy to help you with that. But that's what we have to do, but we can do so much more. In schools, we do reuse projects where we take stuff and make new stuff. We make our own signs, especially our very tactile kindergarten kids. They love doing this. They get to touch stuff and glue it on and make those associations when they're taping their yogurt cups and their plastic cups and onto the blue cardstock that you're putting above to be the signs. They get it, they see it, they feel it, they touch it, and they like it. Bring your own bottles, right? So that's a big, easy step right there. Energy month calendar. So in my school, again, I have an amazing principal. She does an energy tip every day. She does a recycling tip every day. And we also have a nutrition tip every single day. Well, not during COVID because our kids aren't there as much, but every day during a regular year, and our kids are getting the information constantly. It's just we have displays around the building, right? Energy saving projects, curriculum integration. So as I said, I'm a science teacher, but every single unit of study, whether I'm using Amplify curriculum or Houghton Mifflin curriculum or Kerry Durante curriculum, whatever I make up on my own, they all align, every standard aligns itself really well with sustainable education and environmental education, right? From pre-K, 3K, all the way up to 12th grade, there are places where it just fits. So green teams are a wonderful way to get your school on board and to take it from your hands and give it to your kids, right? So that's what I've done. I said, you know what? I am getting old. I'm at this a long time. I'm running out of ideas. So I reach out to my students and I'm like, what do you want to do? What do you care about? What are the things that we want to focus on, right? And we tie it into project-based learning, and we tie it into STEAM, and we tie it into STEM, and we just take it and run with it. So that's always a great idea. Posters. Students create posters to remind each other. They have to do the research to create them. You don't just make that up on your own. Bulletin boards. We're working on a project right now, working with food waste in our classrooms during lunch. And my students are like, wait a second, this is stuck in our classroom. Let's post it outside. And they want to take the information, they want to share it with the school. My kids learned that on days when we have pizza and French fries, that there's no waste. Well, it's important information for the kitchen to know and for the school to consider. We have to consider those things, right? We share that using bulletin boards, banners and pledges, classroom presentations. What I'm doing with you, my kids do. They go from class to class. They have these conversations with kids and with adults, right? And awareness campaigns, right? So some of the work that, I'll come back to that. So this is as simple as it is in the school, right? You've got blue, you've got green. you've got your food collection, and then you've got your landfill trash. And we always go, boo, landfill, because they're filled up, right? So we want to get it out of there. So we want to consider what goes in each one. There are signs that are available from the Department of Sanitation, decals that you can stick right on your garbage cans. Does that mean that you need a blue can to put your blue recycling? Absolutely not. It's just an association. If you put all of your blue recycling in a purple bin, they're still going to pick it up. It's just the association to the colors. Same thing with green, right? So we've got our mixed paper, cardboard, clean green, make that one stick. Papers, toilet paper rolls, all of those things, they all go in the green. Food scraps. So in schools right now, this is something that we're bringing back, which is so exciting because the kids remember it and they want to do it. They don't want to melt ice caps because, you know, when we're starting off, that's maybe their niche. Maybe it's just the polar bears. And then it grows to myself and my environments and Superstorm Sandy and how that affected me and my family, right? And then thinking about the things that go in the landfill. And so enough noise gets made that changes happen. So many of you remember that we switched from styrofoam lunch trays to now we have compostable lunch trays. So people are listening when we talk. And we have to remember that you just have to talk. You just have to keep talking. I'm gonna not talk too much longer. So mixed paper, what are the things that go in there? And we can see here, we've got, you know, paper bags, newspapers, shredded paper, wrapping paper, anything that's hard covered, waxed, or dirty, or soft like a tissue can't go in there. You can't do much with those things, right? So cardboard is a go. Cardboard, as long as it's clean, the egg containers, all these things, they all can go into the green, mixed in together, tied up, picked up by sanitation, turned into new boxes. A big confusion is these tissues. And I always say to my kids, do you want a cereal box with a little boogie in it? I don't think so. So keep your tissues out of the green recycling, clean green only. Tissues are a no. So the blue ones, right? So this is a home and office poster. There are separate posters for home and office in schools. And so our kids, they see this. We don't have toasters in school. We shouldn't have toasters in school unless we're cooking. But there are other things that are metal that we have in schools, such as scissors and things like this, right? No batteries. They need to be separated from that. So aluminum cans, aluminum foil, these are things that our kids are bringing. They go in there. Arizona iced tea, hard plastic, anything hard plastic. I'm at my sister's house. She only had these hard plastic ones to give me. So hard plastic, all of these containers, they all go into the blue recycling. Cartons. So this is a big confusion because they're like, wait, are they plastic or are they paper? But it doesn't matter. Any carton, milk cartons, juice cartons, the soup cartons, all of those cartons, they all can go in here. Sims Recycling knows how to separate those materials and turn them into something new. So really lucky. When I first became a sustainability coordinator, you could only recycle plastics that had a neck and shoulders, like a bottle. Well, now New York City has the facilities to do all plastics. So your containers for your food containers, your takeaway containers, your Starbucks cups, they all can be recycled. All of that hard plastic, anything hard plastic can be recycled. All glass can be recycled. Make sure you empty it out. First of all, it makes a mess. Second of all, it makes it really heavy. So this is some of your landfill trash. Potato chip bags, plastic bags. There's something that Grow NYC always says. They say, if you can smash it, you can trash it. A Ziploc bag, smash it, trash it. Ketchup packets, smash it, trash it. Anything that you can smash, this can't be smashed, right? This is hard. This is hard. You can't smash it. So anything, if you can smash it, you can trash it. Ooh, right? So these were just some examples of that. Interestingly enough, let's see if I can go back to that. Yeah, Capri Sun, the plastic straw. It's hard plastic. You can't smash it, so that can be recycled. So any food scraps that you have in school, dirty napkins, tissues, paper bags, food soiled things, they all can be composted, right? If you have compost at home, you definitely don't want to put anything that's going to smell when it decomposes, but in schools, they take it to another facility that accommodate all food waste and all soiled scraps like that. So now, I don't know how many of you know this, but in schools, they no longer use those plastic sporks, those forks, spoon things that, I don't know, they were a lot of fun when I was a kid. I used to play with them a lot. But now they give all the kids this compostable cutlery. So the ones that are the brownish color are actually made from plant fibers. Boom, put them in the compost bin in your schools. They're organics collection. They're organics, they're made from plants. Excellent. Again, somebody was listening and figured out a way to make less waste. So this is what a school setup should look like, or could look like, right? So you've got your paper, you've got your blue bin for your plastics and your metals and your cans, your cartons. Milk cartons is a big one. This is your landfill trash. Boo, landfill. And then we have our compost collection here. So we have this carton. Where's the carton go? If you said blue, yes. And this, oh, my notebook is ruined. Where am I going to put it? Obviously, we keep them forever and ever and ever, especially when they belong to our children. But when it's time to get rid of them, where do they go? We put them in the green, clean green. Go right in there, right? Oh, ketchup packets. Well, this is one of the ones that we can't avoid in schools right now. They're figuring out ways. They're looking at using dispensers and things for our students. But so for now, unfortunately, landfill, right? Capri Sun, aha. Remember we said about that. The Capri Sun is made from like a smash it, trash it plastic, but the straw, that can be recycled. Ooh, there we go. Pizza, we're gonna put that in our organics collection. Plastic bags, smash it, trash it. Apple slices, oh no, they expired. What are we gonna do? We're gonna separate them. We're gonna put the bag in the landfill and we're gonna put the apples in organics, right? So we wanna get this message out. This is going blue. Famous Amos cookies, oh no, they expired. Again, the bag, smash it, trash it in the landfill, but the cookies, you should eat them. But if you're not gonna, they're gonna go in the organics brown collection. Dirty napkins and tissues. Well, that's always an interesting one. If you have compost, go for it. But if you don't, and you're in your classroom, don't recycle them. They go in the landfill. And here's an average lunch tray. So this looks like something. My school is also a vegetarian school. I guess I should have mentioned that before, which is really exciting because of the impact of the meat industry on the environments. So that's really exciting. There's not many vegetarian schools in New York City. There's only a handful of them. But if we had this tasty chicken wing and we're done with it, it's gonna go organics. Salad's gonna go to organics. Apple's going to organics. This delicious rice dish here is going to organics. The milk carton, that's gonna go to the blue recycling. And the tray is compostable, going right into the organics collection, right? Peanut butter and jelly, same thing. Smash it, trash the bag. Sandwich goes in the compost. So this is what I really wanted to get to. We have these school resources here that I want to share with you. So a lot of people are like, wait, how do you know so much? And I'm like, because I've been doing this for a really long time. And this is my love and my passion. And so I want to share some of the resources that make me be able to share this with my kids. If you go to this link here, which again, I'm going to drop it for you. If you click on there, it's going to take you to the Department of Sanitation website. And the Department of Sanitation website actually has school recycling materials. So anyone here who's in a school facility, works in a school, or is considering working in a school, these materials are available to you. And it's not limited to, you can order additional school materials like signs, stickers, recycling center decals, all of those great things. Literature to send home to parents in like 30 different languages, which is wonderful because you can have the same message going to all of your students and their families. But the fun stuff, they actually have comic books available for early childhood, younger elementary, and upper elementary, which the kids absolutely love, right? So Earth Day, we're like, all right, guys, we're gonna do this. And you give out the comic books and you make a big event. The kids love it, the parents love it, and they really get to learn a lot about the characters themselves. So that's actually this image here. This is the that's the K1 comic book, and they get to color it in, right? So clean green paper, and then the blue, and then you can see the zero waste garbage cans kind of got a cinched waste to get rid of it. So it's just like really great visual effects and really wonderful for parents who are still trying to figure it out. Department of Sanitation. So this is some great family resources here. We talked earlier about the plastic bag ban. And so if you go right here and you make a promise and a pledge, you can actually order yourself a free zero waste school, or not zero waste schools, a recycling bag. All you have to do is pledge to go zero waste. What are you going to recycle? Just make one commitment, one promise. Is it going to be the metal, glass, plastic, paper, cardboard? Is it going to be food scraps and yard waste? Is it going to be electronic waste? You could pick one, you can pick them all. But most important, whatever you pick, you need to stick to it, right? And that's the message that we need to send home to our kids. Donating your clothes and textiles, right? And so all you do is, boom, you click here, reusable bag, you get your reusable bag. They'll ship it right to your home, right? Because this is an important thing. And they recognize that incentives are great. So that's my throwaway for everybody. Take a comic book in a bag. This is something that was created by students. It's a film called Microplastic Madness, and this was put out by Cafeteria Culture, which is student-centered recorded lesson or video where they teach you about that. Unfortunately, today is the only day that it's a free viewing. So if you have an opportunity tonight to watch this with your kids, it teaches you all about plastic pollution, right? Even though like the face scrubs and things that we use at home, it all goes into the drain. And we know that all drains lead to the ocean. And so all those microplastics are ending up in the ocean. So really want to consider our choices. So I just wanted to share that with you. You can click on that link, which I will also drop. And no, please don't start. Thank you. And these are the resources that I'm going to send to you all, unless Alice wants to drop it for you. So, oh no, sorry. All right, so this is the sustainability website where you can get information as parents, as teachers, as school leaders. You can get more information about curriculum. So that link is here. And there is a showcase on June 17th. That you can visit. Just click right there, and there's the comic books that I'll share, there's the bags that I'll share, and there's the microplastics that I share, and I am done.
Great. Thank you.
That's a lot of information. I'm sorry.
That was amazing. Well presented. You're obviously in the right profession and focusing on things that you really care about, and it's contagious and indeed a very informative. You can, Carrie, you should be able to post in the chat now. I believe that's been opened up. And so go ahead and try to post as many links as you would like in the chat. That's completely fine.
Can I ask a question?
Let me ask. Yeah, I want to go ahead and ask a couple, but then Adele will definitely get to you as well.
Okay, great.
Carrie, I don't know if you mentioned it in there. I have just a couple. And I don't know if I heard it, but you said some schools have compost, but not all do, correct?
That's correct.
And how? And I'm assuming the paper and plastic recycling, that's much more widespread, probably almost.
So that's all New York City. All New York City has a pickup for collection for paper, plastic, blue and green gets picked up daily. Or sorry, I believe it's twice a week.
Yeah.
And every school sustainability coordinator, every school has a sustainability coordinator, I guess is the first thing that I should say. Some sustainability coordinators are volunteers. Some of them are voluntold. I'm happen to be a volunteer one. I take it in addition to my job because again, it's really important to me. But every school has a sustainability coordinator and a team that consists of their custodial engineers, their some communication with the principal and the cafeteria. They all sort of have some type of a communication just because they all need to be on the same page.
Got it. And so for the compost programs, what sort of determines if a school has one or not? And how does a school go about setting one up? And would it be a parent? Could parents initiate?
So unfortunately, right now, I don't believe that parents can do anything other than setting it up so that when it rolls into their school, they're prepared for it.
Okay.
So when I started, I didn't have compost collection in my school, but I did start with organics collection so that it was a very smooth transition. It did get picked up with the regular trash, but the zero waste schools are determined by truck routes right now. But the goal is by 2030 for all schools in New York City to have that in place.
Okay, so it's really a matter that will be determined sort of from the top down, so to speak. It's not necessarily like a, okay, all right. Now here's a very random question. Pizza boxes. If they have grease on them, I thought you couldn't recycle them. True or
You
false?
cannot, only clean green. So if they do have grease on them, they cannot be recycled. I pull the top off, like I get a little creative sometimes. I pull the top off, but I also have vermicomposting that I throw in there on occasion.
Okay.
If
Got it.
anybody wants help with that, I'd be happy to.
Got it.
The Department of Sanitation says we can compost the greasy part of the box, though, yes?
Yes. So yes, thank you. That can go in the compost collection. Organics collection is really what they're calling it. So anything organic, it doesn't matter if it's clean or dirty. The idea is that it can certainly be turned into black gold.
Got it.
Cut around all the grease on the pizza box.
And don't forget your coupon.
Yeah, right.
Adele, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Carrie. That was so nice to see, and I hope our parents got a lot out of that. I had a question for you. I actually ran an environmental program out of my school for 10 years, and it was a problem, and it's been a while since I've been in there, but I was wondering if you were able to overcome this problem. So do you have bins, 3 bins in every classroom?
We do. We do. We so one of the great things that I just want to say to everybody, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but the Office of Sustainability does a lot of grants. And so to combat the problem of access to materials, we actually apply for grants to purchase the supplies that we need in order to keep it going. So that's, I guess,
that's where we got our bins from. And what bins aren't the issue. Actually, we got a lot of grants. We won 3 awards from the Golden Apple, for the Golden Apple citywide. Yes, it was very enthusiastic. It was very rewarding. I really appreciate it. And and that's where we got all our money to fund. So it kept rolling back in, but that wasn't the problem. So do you have an elevator in your building?
We do.
Okay, so have you ever, and this is years ago, so I can say this, I'm going to say this very carefully. Have you ever seen the 3 bins actually collected?
Yes, I collect them with the custodian at times.
Oh, at times. Okay, so, and have you done audits?
Yes.
Outside regularly to see what's going out?
So yes, and emphatically I do say yes. And so I want to start by saying my custodian and I have a great relationship. I buy him coffee very frequently because it's all it takes is a cup of coffee to make a friend. And so I shared with him my vision. Again, my principal is very, very active with this. And so anything that I come to her and I say, oh, hey, Miss Ruth, there's this thing. She's like, absolutely, let's go talk to Jose, right? Sorry, Jose and Ruth. But so yes, we actually did bin audits in classrooms, curbside audits. We actually did weighing our trash to see how much we reduced our waste by introducing the organics collection. Like the students were involved in this data collection. That was part of that project-based learning. So yes, we did in fact do those audits, but I also took my kids on trips around the building. We did trips to the boiler room, the wherever the custodians or the custodial engineers store things. Like we were really active with that. Even the kitchen wasn't on board, to be honest with you, Adele, in the beginning. And so we would walk by the kitchen and we graded them. So we started giving out grades.
I can go so many ways, Carrie. And I understand. I have an incredibly, we accomplished so much in 10 years because of our principal. And however, I do know there is a certain mandates that custodial staff are required in union regulations to follow. And then there's outside of that. And I know I think parents should be aware of that. That's a difficult sell, and it's very hard to toe that line of, here, let me ask you to do something, but I'm also telling you to do something, which is counter to them getting what they consider to be their job done.
Yeah, so obviously you're going to come across people who are there to just do their job in all professions. I have had that experience. I came from another district before I came to District 20 8 years ago, and where we found our motivation was the kids. Like the kids were seeing things and the kids were calling them out on it and the kids were asking about it. And, you know, we sorted things. And then at the end of the day, they were putting stuff in the same trash can and the kids were like, wait a second, what's happening? And they called our custodians out on it. And so the kids were like, all right, so what do you need to make that easier? And the kids worked towards buying dollies from Uline. We raised money for it. And we actually bought the dolly systems from Uline. This was in another school district.
Yeah, and I would love to see, you know, having served on the sustainability team, the sustainability, these mandates written into employee reviews for our custodial staff.
I don't know anything about that. I just finished my SDL and my SDL. So I'm still not so well versed in those areas as of yet, but I definitely know that you're considering.
Yeah, I would love to see that because it was, and this was years ago. I mean, I started in 2007 with that, and it was so.
So this was all brand in 2007. This was very new.
And it changed, and we went through 2015, but I saw it change as it was a lot of push through and everything. And you know, don't get me wrong, my custodial staff, you know, some of our plans were, you know, for in our environmental projects were over the top and they helped so much. But I know the difficulty, especially when you don't have an elevator, of dragging 3 different garbage pails through the halls, and then for each floor. So yeah, I'll let Alice go. But thank you, Carrie. I really appreciate what you do.
If you have any questions at all about that, just feel free to reach out. I'm
fight the fight.
So happy to help.
There you go. Thank you.
Alice, did you want to say something?
I just wanted to thank Carrie so much for coming, and I loved meeting you back in 2020, and I'm so glad we were able to set this up. And I want to echo about the kids. You know, they really do give us all the motivation and hold us to task and call us out for being hypocrites. So I love that we're harnessing their power. And, you know, just to Adele's point, and I don't doubt that, you know, there was pushback from janitorial staff, but I heard this argument a lot when the organics program got rolled out throughout the city was, well, I have to put my food in the garbage, and I'll just point out your food was already going in the garbage. And, you know, I know that now there are 3 bins, but it's the same amount of garbage, actually, hopefully a lot less, because you have all these initiatives going on in the schools. So hopefully we're reducing first, and
so we're
et cetera, right? So
correct.
Thank you so much.
Your first goal is not to recycle, it's to reduce. And the curriculum is available where I sent the link. If you're interested, just click right on there, the Office of Sustainability, for any teachers, any parents that want additional information, resources, and feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one other thing. I don't think it's maybe not necessarily feasible in New York City, but I know like out in Massachusetts, they actually have whole schools where they don't bring any single-use plastics. So everything, you know, you pack your carrots in a hard plastic Tupperware and you bring it home, you know, so, and the kids compete with each other on, you know, and they get incentives for being the most, you know.
I'm glad that you brought that up. They're rolling out days, like, right?
Oh,
so it's like zero waste day, or we have zero waste parties in our school where it's what can we do, homemade decorations and things like that, just to sort of get that go. There was a slide with a bunch of pictures. I don't know where it went. I went to show it and it wasn't there. I got some of like my kids specifically and the things that they've done, but we do zero waste days and we do a lot of work towards that. But and they really, really enjoy it.
Well, thank you
Great.
so much. And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Carrie, very much. And Carrie, you've posted a number of links in the chat and your email, I think, as well, correct?
I'll put that right now.
Go for it. Okay. Next on the agenda is the report of the district superintendent. Superintendent Preto, are you there? And are you ready to speak now?
I am both. Thanks.
Great. Welcome and nice to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you so much. And I just want to start by thanking you, Steve, President Stowe, and CEC 20 for the partnership in my first 3 months and change. Yeah, I want to just kind of shout out some things that went well in the first couple months. The District Art Celebration coordinated by Adele, the procurement of the laptops to distribute to D20 students in need, and then the survey that that Steve, you've been coordinating, and hopefully be able to get a view at those results. So just wanted to shout those things out. After 90 days when I came on, I put together a plan for entering into the district, and then after 90 days, I think it's been 102 or something, I would provide an initial report on my goals and next steps. So just like a quick review of the goals, they were to meet one-on-one with every principal and visit all of the buildings, including classroom visits, and then to do observations, provide some findings, and then a process outline for steps moving forward. So I did meet with every single principal in the district, many more than once, and I have conducted 20 principal performance observation visits. These are full day visits that include observing multiple classrooms as well as teacher teams and having extensive conversations with the principal around the work they're doing in the school. And then I physically visited many other buildings as well. I've met with CEC membership weekly, as well as at the monthly meetings. I've also visited the President's Council a few times. I've met with the Title I District Parent Advisory Council a few times. I've met with the Immigrant District Parent Advisory Council a few times. With UFT, CSA, I have visited several school PTA meetings, met with elected officials. I've met with individual parents, and most recently with the Equity Committee. And my initial observations and findings have found that there was just some need to reestablish some structures to support district and school goal setting and progress monitoring throughout the use of data, and to inform problems of practice and theories of action to support the achievement of these goals. This is primarily results of the pandemic and the constant state of change that our schools, school leaders, parents, and students have been through over the last year and a half. And some of the things that we've put in place over the last 3 months in order to support this work in the district, and to develop some common language around how to go about the process of using data to develop theories around problems of practice in our work. The iReady ELA and math assessment pilot was one of those. The student and parent mini charrette design thinking conversations, which have been, we had our student ones yesterday, we'll have our parent ones tomorrow. And then also to support schools and the district in the implementation of state and federal policy. We've been started to conduct CEP clinics with our Director of State and Federal Policy Implementation around the Chancellor's Regulation 655, and then all the expectations for SLTs in Title I. Some needs that have come up. I've spoken about some of the needs, but some ongoing needs that are going to be some long-term pieces that are of note in the district. Special education. We have spoken about the availability of, or the lack thereof, of seats for District 75 students of residents of District 20. So that's something that is definitely a focus area for for me, in terms of partnering with our D75 partners in the Office of District Planning, and helping to support the need in this area, in addition to the need for seats for our community school students, as we are a very overcrowded district. And then with regard to special education, also just ensuring we program access for all of our special needs students in all of our district schools. With regards to the admissions process, this was a concern that was raised by the council around middle school and high school admissions. Just for our work in the district will be just ensuring that we're very clear on our next steps regarding the impact of the removal of academic screens and the introduction of a random lottery to the middle school and high school application, the algorithm that was mentioned. I was asked to speak briefly about that. So the algorithm that's used is a deferred acceptance algorithm, and this deferred acceptance algorithm involves the combination of student preferences, which are your school choices that you put on the application, and then school preferences that are determined first from priority groups, and those are primarily in our district zoning, or whether you live in the district, and then ranking, which was eliminated this year, and then the assignment of a random number. And then the matching algorithm is called student optimal, which means that it starts with student preferences first, and then it goes to the school preferences. So essentially, this works by students being first, hypothetically, by a match with their first preference, and then are either offered a seat in that school if there are enough available seats for all of the children who named that school as their first choice, or if there are more applicants than seats available in that school, then they are all the children who named that school as their first choice are entered into a random lottery based on the number of seats in the school. And the results of that random lottery then either has the child being offered a seat in the school or moved to their second choice. And then that process continues with all children until all children are matched to a school. As far as the work in District 20, many our children have received their offers to schools, and what our immediate charge is. I've been working with Deputy Superintendent Dr. O'Brien, and working with middle school principals and also elementary principals to examine current and future programming models at each school in light of this, to ensure that our responsibility and my responsibility as a superintendent, that we are ensuring a rigorous and relevant curriculum and enrichment opportunities for all of our children in our schools is provided to students. So that's a big need that we're immediately working on right now. Another need that has emerged is the availability of language programming in middle school. We have many dual language programs in our elementary schools, but we have, an absence or a very, very small number of dual language programs in our middle schools. And so we're going to be continuing to look at possibilities for providing families with additional options to continue the established trajectories of elementary school students in dual language programs. Some celebrations. So last week, we partnered with the UFT and their Positive Learning Collaborative training team through the Teacher Center on a 90-minute module entitled Moving from Trauma to Healing-Centered Classrooms. We trained over 2,000. We had 2,000 teachers and staff on the call, which is about half the district, which was a challenge from a technological standpoint, but exciting from just from a sheer quantity standpoint. I was really excited about that. And it was just definitely something to celebrate in the last month. With regard to the iReady diagnostic assessments, we have assessed approximately 80% of the 2nd through 8th grade children in the district. We're coming to the end of we're in the middle of our makeup week. So, but I'm very, very pleased that we've been able to administer that many in such a short period of time. We have appointed 2 principals in the district. I'd like to just shout them out and congratulate them. So I would like to congratulate Principal Georgia Musarulis of 20K 939. And I would like to congratulate Principal Donna Nastasi of Arts Off 3rd, 20K 936, as they were appointed as principals in the Department of Education. So I want to congratulate them and celebrate their, continued success as principals in our district. There's Principal Musarulis, congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd like to just shout out Principal Nastasi and her student council, who organized a student rally condemning violence and bias against our Asian American and Pacific Islander community members. That was on May 21st. I was very excited to support that effort of the students, and very proud to support them as their superintendent in exercising their voice to support their peers and their community members. And then yesterday, very exciting, we held our student session of the Design Thinking mini charrettes. These are the community conversations that we have been designing over the last 2 months as a structure to engage the voices of all 40 District 20 school communities in purposeful discussion around topics of need and interest. We had brainstormed several topics, but with the knowledge that we were coming back to school in the fall and all of the concerns around how the pandemic had impacted all of our children and families across the district, we felt it was very important to get the voices of students and parents in their perspective on how their experience through the pandemic can inform a powerful reopening in the fall. So we have our parent session tomorrow afternoon. I'm very excited. We have a large number of parents from representing every single school in District 20. And we look forward to one, engaging in the conversations and listening to the perspectives of all of our parents in the community, and then also reviewing the results, looking at the trends and patterns and using them to support our efforts in identifying areas of strength, areas of need, and setting goals for fall reopening. Just a couple of structures that I expect to implement in light of some of my observations. One is around just parent access and parents' ability to be able to communicate information to the district. So in addition to looking at the mini charrette structure as a kind of quarterly progress monitoring structure going out throughout the year, to be able to purposefully engage students and families in discussions around how some of the things we put in place are working. I'm also going to be instituting a coffee with the superintendent sort of informal check-in, so that families will have a predictable time on a regular basis to be able to raise concerns to my attention and my team's attention, so that in a more informal environment, to ensure that there's access to the leadership in the district. And we're also exploring the development of some targeted advisory student groups in the spirit of the charrettes, but on a smaller scale, so that it can be done more frequently and not with as much setup as the charrettes. We will continue doing the charrette process, but it does take a lot of setup. So we're also looking at targeted advisories for students that are more manageable and be able to meet more frequently. And then finally, my expectation, which has been communicated to all principals, will be the establishment of school-based equity committees in every school next year, and we'll be supporting them with what we expect them to do and how to go about doing it. And then immediate next steps, we will have our end of year principal conference on Monday, June 28th. That's the first day after the last day of school. We'll have a full day conference with all the principals to celebrate and plan for next year. And we'll specifically be examining some of these data sources that we talked about today to support the process for going about goal setting and action plan developments in CEPs, and how that works in our plans for next year. We have Summer Rising. We are still taking students to be registered for Summer Rising, and we're going about the process of identifying staff and making sure that our CBO partners are working in concert with our principals in charge and our visiting principals, and making sure that we're putting those pieces in place. And then finally, I'm working to begin meeting with our many assistant principals in the district, a couple of whom I see on the call today. Thanks for being here. And I'm looking to first get to know this very valuable and critical school leadership resource that we have in the district, in looking at the establishment of some support structures for our assistant principals, as they are again, like I said before, a key resource in the running of our schools and the support of our students. That concludes my superintendent report. Steve, thank you so much.
Of course. And David, I just want to sort of lead off with, I guess, two quick questions, just more clarity on a couple of things. One, you mentioned the lottery process. I just want to, can you maybe repeat how that works? I think I heard you say that, students, if let's say more students have ranked a school first than there are available seats, then every student gets put into a lottery for that school?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, and is that still
all the children who put that the children who put that school as that choice
is the first choice?
That's right. And then the second choice and the third choice, and so on and so forth.
Let's say a school doesn't fill up with all first choice children, then the remaining seats would obviously go to children who ranked at second, correct? But then would that also be a lottery-based system if
So if I just want to make sure I understand your question correctly. So there's 100 seats in a school. 90 children put that school as their choice, so there would be 10 remaining seats. What happens to those 10 remaining seats?
Is that, let's say, is that lottery? I mean, I assume the answer is you go to the students who ranked at second for the 10 remaining seats, right?
I believe so. I had to double check on that because I'm not an expert in the I'm not an expert in all the little nuances of it. But I believe that if there are children, but if there are more than 10 children who put it second, then that's not how it happens. But I'm gonna make sure that I can just review.
I'm just curious about the prevalence of the lottery system and how, when it will occur and when it won't occur. It sounds like it won't occur if you have a sort of a clean ranking of students who rank it first and they have enough seats to accommodate. In that case, there's no lottery and everyone gets it. And, you know, we just, we'll talk more about it later, but just the lottery itself is something that we're just trying to better understand. And we feel that that's, there's a lot of questions around that, how that works, and the sort of the integrity of the whole system. And then I guess second question, I just want to hear from you. I know we talked about this a little bit on the equity committee meeting the other day, but I'm not sure we really got into it, but I'm curious to ask you, what do you envision the equity teams doing at the schools? What's your goal for those? How do you see those working? And maybe share a little bit about a school you worked at in the past with an equity committee.
Sure. So one of the primary things we look at is the establishment of the equity committee. So, you know, identifying folks in the school, staff in the school who are, you know, interested and committed to doing the work and building their capacity in the root cause analysis process. And that's how to look at data to identify potential problems of practice within specific data points. So what we will do is support schools and principals in providing them with examples of this type of data, and then how to go about using that data in exercises to develop potential problems of practice, and using those potential problems of practice to develop a theory of action about how to go solving the problem. The challenge this year will be, after having been in the pandemic for a year and a half and having the entire school context, or a large portion of the school context shifting, you know, the equity issues that typically arise in schools have shifted a bit, and we've talked a lot about that. We've shifted to issues of access to technology and the internet. We've shifted to issues of how specifically how individual personal and family situations impact child's ability to be able to engage in school. So we also want to make sure that we're being very knowledgeable about how the transition back into in-person school is reflected in how their experience prior to coming back to school is showing up in the return to school. So it's going to be the only good news about that with the equity committee is that it's going to give the equity committees time to learn the process about how to go about using possible data points to develop possible theories of action around the work, because it takes some time to learn the process. And while that's happening, we will be able to you know, do the huge work that will be welcoming all of our children back in the fall, many of who have not been in buildings all year. And we heard loud and clear from the children yesterday a couple of large themes, one of which the sincere desire to reconnect with their peers. That was a big theme we heard yesterday. And we are really looking at how, within the existing health and safety guidelines, how we're going to be able to go about doing that in the ways that they would like to do it. So that they've given us a tall task, but we heard them loud and clear.
Great, thanks. More questions, but we can move on. And Adele, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Superintendent. Thanks for that. That was a very thorough report. I really appreciate it. I had two questions. The first one was related to the algorithm, and I know you most likely will not know this. I know this is a bit of a deep dive, but I think it's important for parents to know it. You had said that the algorithm for the lottery numbers determined according to, you know, certain priority scheduling of students. I think it's called set-asides. So I know they have priority, a certain number of special education seats They might have, depending upon the school, if I'm not mistaken, specifically for high school, that they might have language learner seats. I don't know what the specific set-asides are. So even though you put that down as first, it's not just because you put it first. They might have the set aside of 16, I think that what they were using as a proportion, 16, 68, 16, 16 high performers, 68 middle performers, and 16 below level performers. And that's also potentially integrated into the algorithm from what I understand. What I want to know is, do you know, and if you don't know this answer, maybe we can find out from enrollment, are those set-asides publicly accessible? The set-aside, so it's not specifically just because you put it first. If you are, say, a top performer and you fall into that categorization, only 16% of those top performers can get a seat in that. And that, I think that's important for parents to understand when they're putting their rankings, and so they're not thinking, oh, I'll just go to Fort Hamilton. You're not necessarily just going to go to Fort Hamilton because of potential set-asides. And maybe if we know how those are figured into the equation as well.
Thanks for the question. I don't have the answer. I will definitely escalate that for you. Just so I'm clear on the question, how do, and I'm going to simplify it and just tell me if I've got the whole essence of it, but how do these potential set-asides for high school admissions for different subgroups impact a parent's kind of decision-making for how they go about putting potential schools on the application?
Yes. So, and if it's transparent somewhere that parents can have a better understanding of this, it's not to say that these set-asides shouldn't exist. It's just so the parents can understand that these set-asides do exist. And it's just not just necessarily a matter of you putting that down specifically. But yes, that's the question. And just to move it along, regarding masks, and I know there was a typical situation where New York State announced that masks would no longer, did I freeze it? Masks would no longer be needed as of Monday. And then there was a pullback when New York City said, we're going to wait for CDC guidance. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we've gotten CDC guidance. So I was wondering, have you heard anything about that? Like where you think that is headed? I don't know what that was all about, obviously from a scientific standpoint, why that was an announcement was able to be made. And then CDC was surprisingly silent on it one way or another. So I always suspect, I know there were concerns about parents where the UFT had a hand in some of the language used about keeping schools closed, and UFT, to be fairly to bear, that a number of agencies were consulted. Nevertheless, that language was, if they were consulted previously, what can we tell parents? So where is the clarity on this that you might see?
What you can tell parents, and what I have told parents and all of our staff and principals, is that nothing has changed with the requirement for all people who enter into DOE buildings to wear a mask or a face covering.
Has an inquiry been made to the CDC to ask for a clarification from the DOE?
That's the mask covering is not a DOE, it's a Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. It comes from there. The health and safety guidelines come from DOH. I don't know if there's been any kind of inquiry into like the impact of the announcement made from the governor's office.
And
but I can reach out.
Is that, if that's discussed, do we know why the governor felt that he needed to make that at a particular time, other than to bother somebody in particular?
I can't speak to why the governor made any announcements. Great. He's the governor.
God bless. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Adele. We have Alice next, and then Vito.
Hello, Superintendent Preto. Thank you for your thorough and great report. I'm happy to hear that next year you will be prioritizing the kids reconnecting. I think that's really important, creating spaces for them to, find each other again in the middle of also, reconnecting with their teachers and being back in the learning environment. My question is about Juneteenth. You had mentioned at one of our meetings that you were having throughout the district, you were spearheading sort of a Juneteenth
celebration, or maybe just providing your principals with the resources. I think I mentioned this to you, but in my growing up in this district and my 10 years of having a child in the district, I've never even heard of Juneteenth being mentioned in a social studies classroom or otherwise. So I'd love to hear what that's going to look like and what you envision that being, and just thank you for doing it.
No, for sure. The credit goes to Superintendent Prayer from the high school district. His office is coordinating with all of Brooklyn South High Schools, a Juneteenth celebration. Reached out to my office and invited our schools to provide or to support in any way. So many of our schools have provided student work or other methods for celebrating Juneteenth, and they are going to be coordinating a celebration of all of the collection of all that work across Brooklyn South on Juneteenth. So which is also so I was very excited about it. I can't take credit for it, but I was happy to participate, and I connected with all of our principals and many of our principals. I can't say the number off the top of my head of how many are participating, but many principals reached out with contributions for the Juneteenth celebration coordinated by Superintendent Prayer.
Okay, great. And that'll be on June 19th, right? That is a school day.
That's right. And what I can forward the flyer that I received and sent to all principals. I can forward it to CEC as well. For sure.
Thank you.
All set, Alice? And Vito, go ahead.
Thank you. Superintendent, thank you for your time tonight. Are you going to be able to stay and speak about the specific letter that I wrote and be able to comment and answer questions on that, or should we do that now?
We can do that now.
So I don't want to go into it too deeply. Stephen, what do you suggest?
Well, do you have? I would like to stick with the schedule, to be honest.
Okay, so then I'll make one question now specific to what he spoke about, and then we can circle back to the letter in general, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Vito.
So you spoke about the algorithm. I posted in the chat, and I believe I sent it to you privately, the article from this woman, Amelia Martin, who's a computer science person at, I think, Rutgers or some other hoity-toity place. She's at Rutgers, yes. And did you get a chance to look at that? And if you did, would you say that it's right? Because I know firsthand that sometimes these press articles, they get things a little bit wrong. Can you comment on the accuracy of that article?
I didn't read the article. I read your letter. I didn't read the article, though. I apologize. I don't think I saw an article in the link that you sent. I saw a link to a Facebook page.
Yeah, it was in that. Okay,
Got it. Okay.
So it's in the chat. If you want to take a look at it, the link is there. It's interesting. Again, I could do a lot of things, right? I could make a mean lasagna. I could swap out a toilet, do a three-way switch, but that's above my depth and comfort zone. And so I have to be guided by our friends, the doctors here, Dr. Adele, Simeon, who's here and he's familiar with it, yourself, Superintendent Preto, and of course, Stephen, to really kind of break it down for me in language that I can understand. So maybe we can talk about that later on a little bit.
I'm going to say that I am not an expert in advanced metrics or algorithms. So the information that I know about the algorithm that's involved, I shared. So what I can do is share the concerns that you and the authors of the letter have with the Office of Enrollment and with Central, make them aware of it, and then provide you with any response that they give.
I feel your pain, Superintendent. Thank you so much. We'll get back to the other thing later. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any council members would like to ask a question? Okay. And I guess that will do it for superintendent's report. So thank you, as always. David, we'll see you soon, I'm sure.
My pleasure.
Yep. Next up, my report, I have a number of things I'd like to speak about tonight, and I will try to do it efficiently. Some easy things just to announce to any principals on the call. We got the School Construction Authority sent back their preliminary update on all the capital project requests for that we put in January, and that potentially could go into effect in starting next year. It's not final. Almost every project is currently under review. There was one project that was not that they cannot move forward with. The PS 264 electronic message boards was determined not eligible for capital funding. But everything else is still under review. So more to come on that. Natalia, can you share the map? What Natalia, I'll talk while Natalia's pulling it up, but what Natalia's pulling up is a few months ago, I got an email. There was a teacher in our district, Louis Bonini, who I believe is on. He's on a lot of our meetings. He's a special ed teacher at IS 223, and he created an interactive map of all the schools in the district. And you can see it on your screen. You can click through any of those, any of the circles there. This is now on the website, and it will take you to the Google profile, the profile that's on Google for a particular school. It's a small thing. I think it's a really cool thing, and Natalia got it set up on our website, and I just think it's worth pointing out that now users can go to the CEC 20 website and sort of pinpoint where schools are and click through to find a little more information on them. So just wanted to highlight that, and again, say thank you to Louis for creating that. Now I just want to make a quick comment on the parent survey. Natalia, do you have that email that you can highlight? So as everyone knows, the CEC created a parent survey. We Monday started distributing it. The primary distribution channel is through the parent coordinators. Sylvia Jasinski in the district office is emailing parent coordinators. If there's any on this call, please take note of that. Look for that email. The survey is, there's a link and there's a QR code. Either one works. Please come back to Sylvia, and then she will relay any questions to me as if there are any problems with the survey. Right now, we are thinking of running it through June 21st. We recognize that there is a lot of other stuff going on for parents right now. And so we're monitoring the responses, and we may extend the deadline further. The point of this, and we understand this is confusing, there's nothing we can do, but it's not the DOE survey. We want to stress that. Any parents on the call, these questions are not the same questions you were asked on the DOE survey. These are questions that we've thought about a lot with Superintendent Preto, and trying to get a better sense of sort of take things another level in terms of some of the student experience in the District 20. So we really encourage any parents to fill it out, obviously, spread the word, and we'll continue to promote it in different ways to try to get cut through all the emails that parents are getting. I think I am good on that. Thank you, Natalia, for sharing that. And then my last comments, I'll just provide a quick update. The Chancellor held a town hall for Brooklyn on Monday. I suspect some or many of you were there, but for the benefit of those that were not, I will just give a quick rundown of what she spoke about and some of the Q&A on key topics. In terms of health and safety, in the fall, the current plan, random testing, yes. She did not answer one question that I know has been asked before by parents in the district. Can you get tested by your own doctor? She did not answer that question. She just ignored it. So I thought that was interesting. There will be exceptions on the testing for some students with disabilities and some students with medical exemptions. Masks, as we've just talked about, as Superintendent Preto just said, masks as of now are a yes in schools in the fall. CDC social distancing guidelines, yes. Deputy Chancellor Goldmark is leading a working group citywide evaluating programming models at all schools, assuming the 3-foot guidance, basically taking a fresh look. I know we've talked to parents this spring about the frustration with schools not being able to make use of sort of all space as efficiently or whatever as they would like. Everyone's doing their best, I understand. But the DOE is continuing to look at programming models, as I said. Open houses for schools will start in July. So for parents entering a new school in July or just wanting to get back to their school, again, start to develop that comfort with the setup in the schools. Open houses will supposedly start in July at schools. Vaccines, again, the chancellor put in a plug for kids to get vaccinated. It is not going to be mandated, but 12 and above you can go to vaccinefinder.nyc.gov. And she pointed out the state is offering weekly lottery drawings, full scholarships to SUNY CUNY at random for children who get vaccinated. So keep that in mind. If you're on the fence, you could get a full ride to SUNY or CUNY school if you're the winner of the lottery. In terms of curriculum, she talked a bit about accelerated learning and trying to make this a key part of curriculum in the fall. She got into a little bit of the details, talking about priority standards per grade, said they're working on what these will be, working on training teachers, professional development for teachers, culturally responsive framework. Those were kind of the key talking points around the accelerated learning, using low stakes assessments, similar to what Superintendent Preto was doing with the iReady. And, in her words, the key is to recognize where students are at in the fall, build off that. There were a number of questions about gifted and talented programs. One question, why offers have not been made available yet? In her words, in the next couple of weeks. She said the teacher nomination program is finishing up. They're doing some interviews. She reiterated her view that the program is in transition, and she repeated some of her well-known talking points at this point, that they're moving the program to what she views expanded access and more fair. We don't know what that means, obviously, and that's something that a number of us are interested in on the CEC. And she, for what this is worth, she pledged that there would be parent outreach in the process. I think I speak for a few of us, a number of us, and a number of parents when I say we would very much welcome that and like to see that. In terms of SEL, she spent talking about obviously easing kids back into school. She mentioned a few measures that they were planning to implement in classrooms. Every school is going to have a full-time mental health supports. She mentioned 75,000 teachers trained on trauma-informed instruction, of which I think I just heard David say 2,000 in District 20 have been. Wellness checks in classrooms, mental health screens with parent permission. She also talked about wellness ambassadors. These are volunteer parents who will serve as contact points for sort of overseeing mental health within the school community. There's training, there's a stipend of $500 if parents are interested. You'll have one wellness ambassador per school, and you contact FACE if you're interested. And then finally, she, the world we're in now, schools are awash in funding, and there's a lot of money going around, and the almost sort of too good to be true compared to even just 6 months ago. But every single school will have what it needs, in her words. All the SEL programs I'm talking about, the PP&E, ventilation work is ongoing. In her words, no hiring restrictions. It's good now while you have the money. There was a poll taken on spending priorities, and I'll just close with this. Of all the attendees on the poll, there were 5 categories that they let attendees choose from and sort of answer the question, what should be the priority for spending some of the stimulus money? And the leader was academic and instructional support. 84% thought that was very important. The whole child initiative, covering SEL, community schools, got 80% support. Safe reopening got 79%. And then there was a drop off, and tech initiatives got 64% and universal 3K got 63%. So sort of a clear bifurcation between the three most popular and then another two, which came in a little bit lower. So that's all I have on the president report. Next up, we'll have Diane. Diane Gernardis, are you available?
I am. Good evening.
Hey, go ahead, Diane.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Diane Gernardis. I'm the District 20 Early Childhood Director, in charge of all of our pre-K centers throughout the district. I know that many families have applied for pre-K. We are in the process now of accepting offers and matches from our families, commitments to the matches that were made by the DOE. We have 11 buildings, for those of you who are unaware, as District 20 is one of the most overcrowded districts. We have no room in our elementary school buildings to expand pre-K. And so we currently have 11 freestanding buildings with 4K. We are introducing 3K to our program for September. I want to give a big shout out to my parent coordinator who's on this call, Camila Casano, who is very instrumental in dealing with the concerns of parents and the problems of parents in terms of getting a seat or registering with our program. I want to let you all know that we are opening 3K. We are opening 17 sections of 3K throughout the district. We will have one classroom at our 65th Street branch, 2 classrooms at our 46th Street branch, 1 classroom at 84th Street, 4 classrooms on our Bay 11th, 4 classrooms in our Fort Hamilton Parkway, that's our St. Ephraim's building, 3 classrooms at our Brooklyn Army Terminal building, and 2 classrooms at our 93rd Street building. So we are increasing our program. Our program will actually have a total of 97 classrooms throughout the district for next year. We will probably have upwards of 1,600 children. There is a huge demand for pre-K and for 3K in our district. And we are excited about adding this to our program. I just want to mention 1 or 2 things. The map that was shown before, did the gentleman also include the pre-K centers on that map? I couldn't tell from the picture.
No, I don't believe so, Diane.
Okay, well, our pre-K centers are a DOE program and they really should be included.
So I'm sure we could connect you though. Natalia has the email and maybe you guys could work together.
Okay, that would be great.
That would be great. I agree. Thank you, Diane.
Just as additional information, we also have special ed, basically a D75 program for our youngest learners. And we also have dual language. We offer Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish. So, we have a robust program. We would invite anybody to come and visit. We have a website, www.district20prek.org. You can take tours of any one of our 11 buildings and see the wonderful work that's being done. And if you're interested in a tour, we can hook you up with the site coordinator so that we can arrange a tour of our facilities. You can see exactly what is going on. But we're very excited to include 3K. We are one of the last districts to be able to include that. So we're very excited about that. If you have any questions, my email is dgounar@schools.nyc.gov, and be willing to address anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diane. Janine Faustner, are you on?
I'm still here. Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. 2 quick things. This Friday, the District 20 President's Council will hold our last meeting of the year, which is also our election meeting for all PTA presidents who are interested in running for next year's executive board. Also, if there are any PTAs on this meeting or parent coordinators, all PTA elections must be held by June 30th. Otherwise, it will not be in compliance, and you have to have an expedited election come the fall. So if you haven't had your election or you need assistance with your elections, please contact myself, Vito Labella, or Tamara Stern, and we will do what we can to assist you. Thank you.
Thanks, Janine. Okay. Vito, do you want to introduce the letter to Chancellor Porter?
Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Yes. Share my screen. Just give me 1 second. I have to find it. Is it up now, Matt?
It's loading. There it is.
Thank you. So let me just do some background information, please. At one of the meetings that Superintendent Preto referenced, he meets with us informally on Fridays. The whole process of the lottery and the middle school admissions and the high school admissions came up. And this was really in response to what historically had been a different process. So historically, we would use to populate superintendent's programs and schools that were set-aside schools. We would use a percentage of grades and state tests, and then attendance and lateness. Attendance and lateness was discarded last year automatically. And this year, because there's no metrics available, they had to go to a lottery. Many parents were unhappy with the process, but it is what it is. There just were not the metrics available to populate these programs. So then we had to segue to what the lottery is exactly, and there are some problems with the lottery. A lottery, right? A lottery is a great thing for a public resource, such as, charter school seats or perhaps, I don't know, low-income housing or rent control buildings. It's great to have a lottery, but to really make it work, the integrity of the lottery has to be beyond reproach. And in some background information in 2013, and these are the link that I posted in the chat, Controller John Liu did an audit and he found irregularities, and I'm not going to go through all of the irregularities he found, but he found things that could have been done better. And one of the suggestions that he made and that the DOE approved was, to conduct audits on the process going forward and to ensuring that the metrics that were posted as to what the requirements were to get into a specific program were followed. And I don't know if that really ever happened. I really never heard of it. I also posted an article explaining the lottery and also having some recommendations in it toward the end. And I'm not going to go into the details of that. That's just background information that anyone out there can read. I'd like to request that Natalia puts it with our letter, and we will send that with our letter to the Chancellor and let people read it at their leisure if they choose to. But the specifics about the issues that we had really revolves around, I think, we can't go into the weeds on the lottery, right? On the numbers and this and that. I would like to really focus right now. The letter is public. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I would like to just focus right now on the wait list. And specifically about the wait list is that it expires. I heard conflicting. A wait list used to expire on June 30th. I think this year they said August 15th. And that really just doesn't make any sense to me. I have the biggest problem with that wait list because there are parents that are clamoring to get into certain schools, programs, and now on August 15th, which is a totally arbitrary random date. I think the lottery is less random than that date. It's a ridiculous date. After that, the wait list disappears, evaporates, and there well may be, come September 13th, when school actually starts, and 2 weeks after, there may well be, a dozen seats in some schools, in programs and schools that parents are looking to get into, and now they don't have access to it. So either those schools are going to be have those empty seats, and those seats aren't going to be filled, and those are parents who will not get to partake in a reasonable expectation of a service that the DOE and this, by extension, the city of New York, should be providing to them. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's not about what's easiest for the DOE, it's about what the parents want and the DOE to accommodate. And really, that is the gist of my letter, is ensuring that something happens to goose the DOE, and by extension, the city, into really, really listening to parents and giving them what they want. I mean, we need transparency, and we need the accountability, and we also need this to put into place and get away from the mindset that, well, it's a little difficult for principals, or this is not going to work for us because of that. You make it work. The DOE needs to make it work. Okay? Parents and families come first. It's what they want, not what the DOE wants. So that's, again, I'm not going to read the specifics of the letter. The letter is out there. If the superintendent wants to comment on any particular thing in there that he can comment on, I think a lot of it is really above his pay grade. But I would certainly appreciate any insight he has into any of this, and what he could do to ensure the transparency, and what he can do to ensure the integrity of the process. Can he conduct an audit within District 20 to guarantee that the wait list is followed appropriately, that maybe the wait list is extended, that nobody, once the wait list is closed, gets into those programs without a transparent process. So that's it. I'm not going to talk anymore, but please, the letter is there. And I would like to know who exactly in the hierarchy, from the superintendent on up, should this letter be addressed onto, or perhaps from the chancellor on down, who the appropriate people who are making these decisions. So Superintendent, I apologize if you would like to chime in. Alice, you have a question for me?
I do. Just real quick. I actually agree with you on the wait list. They should probably extend that as long as it's reasonable. I wonder two things. Was the system, the algorithm being used in 2013 that John Liu conducted an audit on as controller, was that, is that the same algorithm that we're using now in 2021?
No, what he did was he looked at, excuse me. What he did is he looked at, this just in. What he did is he looked at specific schools. I know the details of the schools that it's in the details of the the document that I posted.
But
he
is it
looked
like
at certain schools and he saw what their metrics were to get into those schools, and then he went and he took their attendance and he saw, well, you have all these kids and these are the metrics, but you have this percentage of kids that don't seem to match up to the metrics. And why is that? And everyone's like, oh no, no one.
Okay, so I guess my real question is, how does that really?
How does that relate? That just document.
There are no metrics this year, right? Essentially, it's a
yes.
lottery.
So the point to that letter is that there is corruption baked in the system. We talk about systemic racism.
That was my next question.
We talk about systemic racism. There's systemic corruption built in the system.
Okay, well, the systemic racism is corruption that's built in the system. It's just against Black and brown people, right? So, but that's, and other people of color, anyone not white, right? So, but that's not my question. My question is, besides that 2013 report that tells you there's corruption, and I don't disagree, do you have any concrete evidence that the lottery or the wait list or the selections will be somehow affected by, like, will there be patronage at the Office of Enrollment? Do you have evidence?
Well, how would we know unless we conduct an audit?
Well, I mean, I have real life experiences of times where I know that people in this district have patronize their way into schools. And
Does it
whatever.
make you angry?
Not, I mean, at this point, have I let it go? It's individual. It's like, you know, voting fraud. It's 14 cases in, you know, 163 million. It's not worth getting
Well,
upset
to me,
about.
14 cases of corruption, Alice,
But to stop the
is too
train
many.
over 14 out of 1 million,
I don't care if it's one case.
I'm not objecting. I mean, I didn't sign on to the letter. I don't know if I agree with everything. I do agree with your wait list. I just wondered if you had a source of corruption specifically for this or any anticipation.
It sounds like you do. Can you share that?
Oh, I wish I did. You know, like I said, I have personal experiences of people in the past who've gotten themselves into schools.
Would you
but
like to share?
No, that's private.
I think we're good on this,
Guy.
All right.
Getting off
Thank
the
you.
spot. I
Thanks.
just wondered if you had any other sources, and if you do, I'd love to hear them. Thank you, Vito.
Thanks, Alice. Adele, go ahead.
It's the unmute. It's the panic of the unmute button. Vito, thank you for that. I think to that point, I know there are anecdotal cases that parents are reporting where they have submitted 10 choices and not received one of their choices. And we know that there have been reports on that. And I think that alone suggests that we need a closer look at how exactly that algorithm was applied. And there are metrics applied to the algorithm. I think that was established. It's those set-asides that we just don't know what they are. And if how they're in place, and maybe that affects why certain people didn't get their choice because they weren't aware that there were set-asides, that there were going to be certain seats saved for certain for a number of students, which is an equity measure and valid as such. However, parents, I think that taking a close look would help us with that. Now, I would like to just put on the record that I strongly suggest that the next council coming in, their first order of business is to have enrollment attend our meeting and have answers directly from enrollment as to what, you know, these questions are better answered by enrollment. And I know they might sidestep some of those answers, but I really do want to know how, yes, it's an algorithm. Yes, it's a lottery. But again, what are the set-asides? What are the priorities? It's not for high schools. It's not zoning. You're not getting your priority by zoning. So I'd just like to see that a little more closely.
Adele, so in high schools this year were supposed to publicize their metrics, including whatever set-asides. Is that to what?
Yeah, and I wonder if it's school by school. And I was telling superintendent, I don't think parents are aware of that. I don't think they were aware that those significant set-asides existed and minimized their chances of even further of getting their first choice, second choice, third choice.
I believe those were actually documented. My question, Adele, is did District 20 have any set-asides for middle school or middle school programs?
Okay, and do we know Fort Hamilton set-asides? Because I know, again, we have people zoned in the district.
Fort Hamilton, it's no honor, so were there specific? Yeah, Fort Hamilton Honors would have some kind of metrics. What were the metrics for Fort Hamilton Honors to get in this year?
Yeah, and also for other seats, again, as equity measures, it's the prior there were, and it does mention it in what you had sent us, that there was prioritization, but it wasn't specified clearly what that prioritization was. So great insight into this. But I think we really need enrollment here to answer these questions.
Yeah, and I'll chime in quickly and sort of to a couple of points that people have talked about. The first section of this really talks about the lottery itself, because that's the importance of that has increased so much this year. So we have the algorithm and we have the set-asides, but then you also have the lottery, which is sort of a completely different set of considerations. And lotteries, they seem simple. How hard could it be to do a random number? But there's actually a lot more that goes into ensuring and sort of validating that number is truly random, that the number is not subject to manipulation, that the software and the company, I'm assuming the DOE used a vendor for this. I would hope they would. But that's just a question we would like to ask is, what was the software or the vendor that you used to conduct the random number generating process? And then to the audit, the whole idea of auditing, every state lottery has an auditor and is auditable. And is that in place for this lottery? And I'm not saying that we have evidence of corruption, or I'm not saying that we have, it's really just about getting answers for it's a public service, and we'd like to know how it's being run. Again, to the point of trying to build trust, if the DOE wants to build trust with parents in the system, this should be a way to do it. So that's sort of the first section of the letter on lottery procedures. Okay. Any other council members want to speak on that? So with that, we are at the general first public speaking session of the night. The general public speaking session, I'll just repeat the ways to make a comment or ask a question if you would like to speak. The first is sign up using the Google form. Natalia, can you please post that in the chat one more time? I know you did earlier in the night. The second way is to press the hand icon. And so we see that at the bottom of the screen. And then the third way is on the translation lines. If there's anyone on the translation lines, please raise your question with the interpreters. And then finally, if you've dialed in using your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand and we will unmute you. Okay, Natalia, do we have anyone who signed up using the form?
The first person is Natalia.
Oh, hello. And yeah, every time they called your name, I was like, are they talking to me? So I am a parent with a child in elementary school and middle school in District 20, also high school, but a different district. I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'm curious about admissions for next year because I have a 4th grader and I'm a little panicked seeing some of my friends. And if we don't know yet if admissions will be the same in terms of lottery, I want to comment that I went through the middle school process for my 6th grader, and I'm also Latina, so I want to say that 100%, just because I know there's always this comment about wanting accelerated being a kind of a racist thing. For me, accelerated is what helped me succeed and my siblings succeed and get out of poverty. And so I'm really anxious about my 4th grader and hearing that some of my people that I know got their 12th choice or a choice that was not even on their list. So that's my comment. And if we do know what admissions looks like, if you can, or might look like, I'm trying to plan now.
Definitely, Natalia. Thank you for that comment. And it's on our radar, I can assure you, and we'll try to get communication information out there as we know it. Natalia Mundis, is there another speaker signed up?
Yes, Rona.
Go ahead, Rona.
Hi, I just wanted to comment about the admissions process. There is a great article that I just sent to the chat. I don't know if it can be shared, about how the algorithm was developed and how it works. That's just a great way for understanding the math and the logic behind it. I have to say that the DOE also put out a video, at least as a middle schooler, incoming middle schooler parent that I saw, that very clearly explains how the algorithm works as well, especially with the set-asides and the lotteries and all that. I would like the district to also maybe get data on how many kids this year got into the programs. We were a gifted and talented family with an IEP, and we did not get a choice school, but I was very happy to hear that a lot of our friends that were not GNT did get into these selective schools. So I would like to also get data on that, because I think that's something that we're overlooking in this discussion, as usual, that there are kids that did not get to be in gifted and talented throughout elementary, but will now be benefiting from these schools. I was also very excited to hear that Superintendent Preto is on the case of distributing similar programs to all of our schools, which is really the point and to distribute also the parent power of more privileged families throughout the district. And I'm looking forward to that and hearing more about those programs. I'm also a little disappointed, as usual, with Mr. Vito for making fun and laughing at systemic racism issues in our schools and how we bring them up in discussions.
Please don't, Rona, I'm sorry, please don't refer to individuals. Let's please focus on ideas and.
Okay, so if the CEC.
You do have a right to respond to her now, Steve.
That's fine. If the CEC could possibly make some sort of discourse, regulations that prohibit people, especially if they're sitting on the CEC, to make light of these important issues, that would be beneficial to these discussions. I'm also at the same place, sort of want to commend you guys for going after this corruption, although I've seen a lot of people placed, and we personally were offered a spot in a school when we were transferring our daughter out of PSIS 30. That was in a school that would have meant we were skipping a line. And I know it happens, and we obviously did not take that spot because of that. It happens all the time in this district. I think that if we could get stats on that, I think you would find that it's usually not the families that suffer from systemic racism within this district as well. So I'm glad you're doing that, specifically because I think it will benefit all of our children. And that's it.
Great, thank you, Rona.
I have
Rona,
a right
you
to
can-
respond, just 2 seconds. I care very much about systemic racism. I just believe that there are different remedies to systemic racism that perhaps you do. But I very much want to decrease the gap between all groups, but rather than by pulling people down, I want to lift everybody up. And Rona, you know that, and to troll me like this is just inappropriate.
Okay, Vito, I have to push back. You were talking to me and you did smirk. It did seem a little bit.
Guys, we're not gonna get into the back and forth. Vito had his response.
I think it matters. He's not supposed to respond to no one is supposed to respond to public speakers at all.
That's not true. I was called out.
Vito, yeah, Vito, let's let it go, please, guys. And Rona, you mentioned you had an article you would like to post. You try and post that in the chat.
I sent it. I sent it to the chat. I don't know if
Can you try again? I changed a setting. It might work now.
Super.
Rona
Okay.
was called out and then she rephrased, Vito. I don't want to press this, but
Alice,
in the future,
Alice, please drop it, or else.
I think
Alice,
it's
please.
important to know for the future council that we do not reply to public speakers. We do not engage them. That is a real thing.
It's over. It happened once.
Well, it's
and
over
let's-
now. Thank you.
Okay, it worked now, I think. It's going to just the general D20 CC direct message. I don't know if it could be bumped up or.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing up, but
Where?
Oh, wait,
is it
now. Oh, I found it. My bad. Okay, got it. Thank
there it
you.
is. Got it. Awesome.
It
Natalia.
explains the history of how it was developed and then literally how it works. And I'll also look for the video for next time, maybe.
Great. Thanks. Very interesting. Natalia, do we have another
Did we
speaker?
share that the other article, the one from the Rutgers professor? That Rona might like that one as well.
Potentially. Yeah, go ahead and post that if anyone would like. I think Vito posted that already. Natalia, do we have another speaker?
Hey, I don't see anyone else who signed up using the form.
Okay.
In terms of our translators, I think there's only Mandarin. There was no one else on the line, and the other translators were dismissed.
Okay. So no additional questions at this point, it sounds like, or comments, I should say. Okay, so let's move on to the resolution. Natalia, can you pull up that resolution, please? Alice, would you like to introduce it?
Sure. So this is simple. I didn't write it. This was presented and voted on by the ECC at their last meeting on May 17th, among a couple of other resolutions, but I thought this might have the best chance of passing our council. Just to summarize, there is a bill currently up in the Senate to decrease classroom sizes, to use the federal stimulus funds to mandate basically that the capital plan has to include funding to achieve lower class sizes. And that can be, first, that can be achieved by adding teachers to the classroom to lower the ratio, but with an eye to actually building more schools and providing the extra seats in that way. And so there's a whole bunch of whereases here. It's been on the website. The council's had a chance to review it. So because this bill is up in the Senate, the ECC is just trying to amplify the message. We do, as Steve mentioned earlier, have all of this federal money, and you know, things tend to have a momentum. So if we put it into place now, we have a much better chance of still having it in 5 years than if we wait and prioritize other things. You know, as we all know, the capital plan is a 5-year plan. So being able to make a new capital plan with, you know, extra seats in mind, I think is something that District 20, specifically with our overcrowding issues, I think this is something that we should support in order to achieve our goal of getting more funding for these seats, because that is the long-term goal of the bill being proposed in the Senate. You know, you can read it. It's referenced in the resolution here. So what we would do is we would just basically sign on to the ECC resolution and help amplify the message by adding our council's voice. And I think that's it. I don't know if anyone needs me to drop the link to the bill. I probably could find that. Or if anyone has any questions or anything to discuss. It's a really simple resolve. There's only 2 resolves that we urge the New York State Legislature to pass that legislation that I just mentioned. It's S6296, and that we urge the mayor and Chancellor Porter to agree that at least 250 million, which is the amount referenced in the bill, be used as the first step in a 5-year class size reduction plan. So that's it.
Thanks, Alice. I just want to share a few comments, because I've done just did a little bit of work on this and looked at the bill, actually the text of the bill in the Senate. And you know, the goals in here, I obviously completely agree with, and I think we all do on this council. We agree, we want the best education for District 20. We want smaller class sizes in District 20. We want more seats in District 20. My issue with this bill is and this is sort of an interesting position where we're sort of commenting on state legislation, sort of a degree removed from the CEC, but I still think it's worth, we sort of have to step out and think about ourselves as if we were at the state level. And to me, this is, it's sort of a classic public policy challenge of creating a new long-term mandate when conditions are favorable in the short term. And what I mean by that is that there's language in this bill, and it changes an existing law. It amends an existing law, and it basically, there's language, and I won't bore people with it, but it basically makes it tougher for the DOE to maintain financial flexibility in future years. It basically requires the DOE to hit an average class size and then maintain that level in perpetuity. It, in my opinion, makes it much easier for to pursue litigation against the DOE, to pursue other kinds of public and political sort of remedies if they don't meet the mandates in here. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. We have to have that kind of accountability. But to me, this is it's a bill that I think in the future will create higher fixed costs in a way that that the DOE is not able to sort of flexibly manage depending on conditions. For example, we're going to have another recession at some point, but the language in this bill would require the DOE to maintain the same class size level essentially forever. That was written in here. So it's just for me as sort of a public policy, as sort of a financial sort of public finance question. I just had issues with it. And then just briefly on the class size topic, reducing class size is laudable. It's also just like a number of policies in education had mixed results in different places. And I did a little bit of research on this, and there's a Brookings study that concludes there's places it's been implemented and it's had very good effects. There's places where it hasn't had good effects. But as Brookings concludes, it is always very expensive. And there's many other things we can always talk about and focus on with education. And I just think that writing this particular one into a bill, I realize this is already in New York State's laws. We're not going to change that sitting here on the CEC, but it's just, I just see this as, personally, this is the direction that that I think is the most responsible. If I was being asked to vote on this bill and on this resolution, I am being asked to vote on it. And so I can't support this resolution for that reason.
Can I address just a couple things before anyone else speaks, just to what you just said? Or
sure, go ahead. No, I have no problem with that.
So, we emailed before, so I actually read the Brookings report that you did. Just a couple of things, and it did say that it works in some situations, the reduction of class size, and not so well in others. The situations it works well in are urban situations, are very crowded class size situations, rather so like instead of going from 28 to 25, that isn't really a big, improvement for, outcomes. But if you go from 32 to 25, that is a big improvement. And also, if you go more than 7, that tended to. So all the things that this actual bill is trying to accomplish are what the Brookings studies said that class size does accomplish, but that's neither here nor there. I guess, and people are going to vote anyway, they're going to vote, but I guess where I stop with what you just said, the first part about the financial part, why shouldn't we be advocating and prioritizing for schools to be fully funded? The law that this changes demanded that our city schools be fully funded back in 2006, something that was never honored by the state. And now that we have these federal stimulus monies, we still don't want to ask because we don't want to tie ourselves into it because a recession is coming. Frankly, I don't care if a recession is coming. That's even more reason to invest in our education and our kids and make sure that they are prepared to enter the climate of, a low job availability, and so that they enter this workforce highly skilled. I mean, it's the time to reinvest in education. It is not the time to pull back. So I actually like that it locks it in. But on the other side of that, we all know that laws can be changed and amended and are all the time. So, just because it says that something has to happen in 5 years doesn't mean that it can't be changed or amended based on who's in the legislature. So I would just appreciate if everyone would keep that in mind and look at the big picture here, which is that no one's going to listen to this resolution and what we sign on and say, oh, well, the CEC 20 signed on, we have to go do this now. But we are, it's like forest for the trees here. We're amplifying a message that we want more seats for our children. The end result of this bill, and I also read the language, is that it compels the SCA to include, and they mention the SCA specifically, to include more seats in our district to achieve the lower teacher to student ratio and therefore the lower class size. They can start with more teachers in the classroom, but they have to have a plan to build the seats. And that's what we want in District 20. So I'm not sure why we would be against this. All sorts of high-level policy wonky points
aside. It's really just, like a figurehead kind of statement that we're making. And, I would appreciate support, but I guess I'll turn it over before the vote, or the public comment before the vote.
No problem, Alice. Adele, do you want to speak?
Do I want to speak? All right, so there's a couple of things. Lower class size, obviously we've been talking about it for years, an incredibly long time. I have come after we continue to make these conversations. My husband's screaming in the background. Hold on a second. Okay, sorry, chaos in the Doyle house. So I just want to draw attention specifically to, hold on a second, sorry, I can't think. Sorry about that. So I just want to draw attention to this idea of smaller class size. We've been asking for it, and this idea of the DOE not responding to us, just case in point, Fort Hamilton, we've been requesting for years, and this is something maybe parents don't know fully, and I really think parents should know this fully. We've been requesting for years on CEC that another high school be built, that we need another high school in South Brooklyn, that Fort Hamilton is at 191% capacity. They have 3 staggered shifts of classes going through. We need another school. So apparently what we've discovered is it's not even included in the budget. Okay, we've asked for this repeatedly. So even if we keep asking for smaller class size, and the DOE has nodded to us. I've sat in a room with School Construction Authority where it says, oh, yes, we know you want a new high school. And then to find out that it's not even included in the budget, but yet we get yet another, what is it, a middle school? Or is it the one on 89th Street that they're doing? Is that another middle school, or is it a grade school, Stephen?
Well, I think it's going to be an elementary school.
Another elementary school. Yeah. So a block down from 104, a block over from 264. And yet we have high school that is losing programming, and they're reducing classes, class offerings, because they have too many kids in the building. So it's not happening. So there is that. I think there is a curricular structure. I think there are other things going on beyond class size. I don't think lowering class size is necessarily a magic bullet. I think time on task is a problem. I think the amount of additional programming that we put in, where and if you look at other schools that are more successful in teaching their other countries that are more successful teaching their students math and reading, what they have is more time on task and rigor. And there is that, and either extended days. So while I don't disagree with you, Alice, I don't think it's necessarily, and I don't have enough time to really think about this. I only got to see it this morning. But I'm going to abstain from this because there are so many other issues at play here. And I don't want to oversimplify this to say, here you go, if you give us smaller class sizes, this is going to work. Or here, if you put the funding here. I just think there are other things. I really think extended days, especially with at-risk students, of rigorous instruction and intervention. I think that's really important. I don't think any student should come out of 4th grade not reading at grade level. And I think more than class size, if we can put our money into a program like that, because once you get out of 4th grade not reading at grade level, you're doomed to diminishing returns. So again, I don't disagree, Alice, about class size. I just feel like there's other priorities that I would really want to think about. And it's a bigger conversation for me, so I'm sorry.
Can you answer though the fact that it compels the SCA to build more seats, and that's what we've been asking for? And that's what this bill does. And I mean, you and I both know it's not going to actually change any hearts and minds. It's just amplifying the message that we want the SCA to build more seats in our district. That's what
it's already on the books it's already on the books to build more seats, but they're building the wrong seats. That's
a prior capital plan. We know that capital plan was already written when the property became available, but there will be another capital plan.
Yeah, but you could amend the budget.
We'll have extra money
to the tune of 230 million or whatever this resolution is saying, and that will be devoted to
Yeah,
compelling.
and this capital plan runs to 2025, and we were around, you and I, when they wrote this capital
But the property was not around. You know that, Adele.
No, I know, but they could have written a high school in, and I don't know, you know, Alice.
For a high school without a
All right,
property.
guys.
Okay.
All right.
No, I understand what you're saying, Alice. I really do. I just don't.
We're getting in the weeds. Never mind.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate that, Alice. I really do. And Yifeng, I saw your hand next, and then Yifeng, go ahead if you'd like to speak.
Yeah, can I speak?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think there's more priority than, you know, smaller classroom size. I mean, it would be really nice, but from a personal experience, I grew up in China, and the classroom size there is huge, like over 50 students per classroom. And we define, I mean, we learned how to read and write. To me, I think quality education, learning how to read and write and how to do math is more important than everything else. So I just think there's more priority than that. So right now, like expand the GNT program in the district, put the screening back. They are a lot more important than just mere classroom size. And you know, don't tell me I don't speak for the Asian Americans in this community. Well, yes, the public, the silent majority has spoken, and they've spoken by the CEC votes, right? I hope, which will be coming out tomorrow. So again, taking rights to quality education and replace the academic excellence by lottery, that's real systematic racism. Thank you.
Okay. We'll move on. Thanks, Yifeng. And Rona, I do see your hand up. We'll get to the general public speaking in just a second, as soon as we're done with any council members who would like to speak on this. Are there any other council members who would like to speak on the resolution?
Yeah, I would like to speak.
Go ahead, Maurizia.
I'm sorry, Alice, I don't support your resolution. The simple fact right now that I'm struggling with my son, for instance, we live on District 20. I applied for 5 schools programs. He's in an honors class, and what the enrollment did is not giving him a seat. He's waitlisted for numbers that obviously we're not going to be given a seat. So I asked a seat in Fort Hamilton, where we live in District 20. They assigned me a school in District 21 where I don't live. So their excuse is that, oh, it still is close to where you live, and the high school is no longer the district where you live. So what I'm trying to go back to this is, instead of making the classroom smaller, is to ask the Department of Education or whoever is in charge to spend the money, if it's coming, to make more high schools in District 20. We don't have it. We don't have it. It's not about classrooms. We need more high schools for children like mine that we're sent to a school that we didn't even choose, and we don't even have a say. And we cannot even say, because every time I send emails, it's like I'm talking to the world. They're blocking me. They don't care. It's what they, at the end of the day, you choose programs and they choose the school for you. That's what they did with the high school this year. And it's happening to me, and it's happening to many thousands of people. We are in the same situation. I chose 5 school programs, not 1. And he has good scores on 7th grade, but they use the 6th grade scores. Okay, so they didn't tell us that. So going back to this, it would be nice if they build another high school for all the children like my child and many more students that were left now. I had to apply now to even Manhattan. Where am I going to go? To the Bronx? Where am I going to send my kid when I don't want that school that they send me? I'm looking private schools and it's closed already. So that, I think it should be fair if the superintendent is right now in the meeting, that we need another high school. That would be great for District 20. We don't have. Every time they're building is elementary school, middle school. What about the high school? We need these kids prepared for college. So for that reason, I don't support your resolution. Sorry.
Thanks, Maurizio. Vito, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. So I just want to say it, we already now have 100% of fair student funding, and Alice had mentioned that, and we're getting all the back money because we have all of this largesse from the federal government. I believe that was already stated, so I just wanted to add that point in there first. Second, we're scrambling for space. We have no space. How do you decrease class size? You need to either you need more classrooms and more teachers. Well, if you need more classrooms, you need more buildings. All of our buildings are full. It seems like this is one of those things where, oh, well, you know, it's this pie in the sky thing, but I don't think it's going to be practical. And I just think it muddies the waters. So that's why I won't be able to support it, but thank you.
All right, I just have to speak to this again because I feel like it's not getting through. I heard it from Mauricia and from Vito. You're saying that we can't prioritize that because what we really need is schools. It specifically has language in the bill that they need to lower the teacher to student ratio, and they can start doing that by adding more teachers in the room. So that's the start point. But they need to include the funding to build the seats. So when you say that you need more schools, that is what the bill that this resolution is supporting does. So I don't think it's pie in the sky, and I don't think we can only do one thing at a time. I think this is actually trying to support and deliver what it is that this district desperately needs, which is why I brought it to this council on this last meeting of ours. For this rough 2 years.
Alice.
I really thought it had a good chance, but
okay. Well, Alice, Alice, I am curious, and I would, maybe this is getting too into the weeds or too beyond the scope of a public meeting here, but the language in the bill, it references capital plan for sure.
It has SCA in there for sure, and it references K through 12, actually pre-K through 12. I mean,
no, Alice, I'm trying to understand. I'm not trying to.
Okay. Yeah,
argue.
no, sorry, it's in there for sure.
That's okay. School construct. I'll be honest. I don't see school construction authority in here. Not that that matters because we know what it's. We know how it would apply to New York City. But it just says the language I'm seeing is it requires you to include the capital plan for school construction and leasing in the
school construction authority. That is what they're talking about.
Well, it says capital plan for school construction.
Right. So the school construction authority is the only people involved with the capital plan. And so they work with the city, right? And they work ahead of time, like to a point. The reason we didn't plan for a high school is because we didn't have the property. They make it really clear that they can't put something in the plan without having a tangible property to build on. They just don't do it. But then they make another plan the next year for the, and they amend if they can. So let's just, I don't want to get into the weeds either.
Okay, that's fair.
But
we can leave it.
It does make allowances to build the seats that we want. So I think, fine, you don't agree with, even though I will make the other point of in gifted and talented classes, there is already small class size. So when we advocate for gifted and talented, we are automatically advocating for small class size, except the rest of the city is not benefiting from those benefits. But I'll say all of that, whether you agree with small class size or not, the bill provides for building the seats that our district needs, which is why I introduced it. But
okay, we can have differences of opinion on that. And again, I just want to reiterate too, one other thing that made me uncomfortable with this bill is that there's basically a provision in here that's taken out, which would, if the city doesn't meet its the goals laid out in its class size reduction plan, then it can be, under the old law, there would have to be a petition to the state commissioner, and that was the only remedy. And now that's taken out, and in my opinion, that would essentially open the city up to face. I mean, we all know how contentious it is with mandated public policies, and it's an incredible burden. And so
Well, they're facing suits all the time from special ed compliance.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's a good comparison. And I do think,
but you know,
and I do think people should fight for what they're owed in the law. Absolutely.
Right. But when we say on one hand that like the DOE works for us and they have to provide us with the admission and the enrollment information that we want, but then we say on the other hand that we can't ask for things from the DOE and hold them accountable on things like class size. I don't know, the logic gets me, but it's getting late.
Yeah, I hear you, Alice.
You and I could go on, but
let's do it.
Everyone else wants to.
Okay, let's, shall we call for a vote on the resolution then? Is there a motion to call for a vote on the resolution? Oh, actually, wait, no, we have public speaking. I'm sorry.
Yep.
My mistake. And I see, so we'll now move to public speaking on the resolution. And Rona, go ahead. I see your hand up and I'll go to the forum in a second.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak in support of this. I think that there are a lot of things that we need, and there are a lot of things that we should be asking and can get done. The last two, I think, properties that the CSA, CA, sorry, bought, they were basically flipped by the same contractor who I think is a local contractor. One property he purchased for 12 million, the DOE bought for about twice that, 20-something million dollars. The second property, I couldn't look up the numbers for right now, but I'm pretty sure it's similar lines. These are both properties that I personally wrote the school construction authority about when they first came on the market. So why did someone else buy them only to then double the cost to the DOE? And if they have the money to throw another 10 million or 15 million to get a property, I don't know, who is holding them accountable and how is this in the budget, but then buying other properties isn't. So I really don't think it's a question of, is there money? Apparently there's so much money that is just, there's money enough for them to sit for a year on a lot and not do anything. Either they have to look at their process or something, but this is to talk about money and resources at this point. It's District 75. Also, we don't have any middle schools or high schools, I believe, District 75 and D20. None, zero. All those kids, all of them are bust on buses. This is people with health problems and children who should not have to be on transportation and at schools where they don't have a community. These are the most vulnerable children that are district. So we need those too. And of course, we need another high school. This isn't a question of do we need it? It's another question of this year, for example, my child was in a class with 40 students. We had an incredible teacher. So it was okay. Despite being all remote, despite being, I was also raised in a place where 40 for a class is normal. And I came here at a much higher level in reading and math. That doesn't, you can have an outlier experience and that's fine. But most research shows that children benefit from a smaller class. And so I would just want to support Alice's. I don't think that we should limit ourselves or our requests just because of, you could say, well, that's the way it is. We don't need another high school, or well, District 75 doesn't really need to be here. Mostly it's because they're not available to be so vocal, or the same with the high schoolers. They're on their way out. I'm not really sure why people don't participate more than they do, but I really just don't think that that's a reason not to ask for something. And I do think that once you ask for something, maybe there will be a way to get it. And that would be very nice for our children.
Thanks, Rona. And very interesting comment. I've wondered the same thing about SCA. Very interesting on the land purchasing. But Natalia, do we have anyone signed up on the Google form?
Good. No,
Okay, and,
nobody else in the forum, and I don't see any hands raised.
and on the language, on the one, on the Mandarin line, is that still active or no?
No one on the Mandarin line.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so shall we call for a vote on the resolution then? Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to vote on the resolution?
I'll move to vote on the resolution.
Sure.
Second.
Second. Okay. Natalia, can you take roll call vote, please?
Steve Stowe,
I vote no.
Dina Gergis,
Yes.
Robert Aguilar is not here. Alice Licato.
For all the reasons I stated, resounding yes.
Inga Smolyar.
I abstain on this one.
Okay. Alan Aja is not here. Mauricia Cadillo.
No.
Yifeng Chen.
No.
Adele Doyle.
Abstain.
Vito Labella.
Abstain.
Simeon Stolzberg.
Simeon's still with us.
Simeon.
Can you check out?
I don't think he's here.
He's not here.
Without even saying goodbye?
Oh.
Do we have enough votes?
No.
Well, yeah, I guess we do. But
That's 2 yeses, 3 nos, and 3 abstain.
And another one bites the dust. I move to adjourn unless there's any other business.
I will mention that our next meeting, well, not our next meeting, the next meeting, and as I said at the beginning of the meeting, should be on July 14th. So
Run by Natalia.
run by Natalia.
Right.
That's the only thing we can say for certain. So
Bye, Natalia.
Oh, and can we say thank you, Natalia, for all your hard work this term?
Absolutely.
And you are a joy and a pleasure, and thank you for everything that you have done for us. And I will miss you very much.
Best wishes, Natalia.
that resolution, that passes unanimously, I think.
Thank you.
And
10 o'clock on the dot.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.